Yes. All right, we are live. Should be. Whatever that is, mute or something.
Sure.
All right, we're going to try this old-fashioned way, guys. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but we'll give it away. Yes, old format. I'm just waiting on DALIN to join us. Can you hear me? This does seem to be either a connection problem on my end or a...
TB, the new stream says live in like 14 minutes, and there's no chat available.
I'm in it live. I'm in there talking to him.
Oh, well, why can't I see that? That's weird.
All right, Remo, I will check that out. All right, seems like we're really good. Okay, we got DALIN back. I think we can pick up where we left off if we can get
Yep, I found it.
The potato chip girl back in here. Whatever the hell she was doing. I mean, what is it? What's going to be next? We got potato chip bags crackling everywhere. We got motorcycles running up and down the street. I mean, what's next?
That was a box that I was opening I apparently was too loud for your sensitive ears.
Headphones, man. Headphones that kill you.
But, you know, it was a little box that I was opening for my child. So I'm so sorry that your sensitive little delicate ears were so close to your speakers or headphones that you couldn't handle it.
All right, well.
Oh, but that's my dog.
DALIN, you see what I deal with?
It's fun.
All right. You guys pick up where you were talking. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying a lot of attention because I was trying to fix the stream, but it seems like we got a good connection here. So
yeah.
Yes, can DALIN and I continue with our show now?
Yes, you can. Please.
Thank you.
I'll mute.
Oh, DALIN, my dog, wants to have some input in your show here and there.
I'll take anything. I'll take any advice.
Where were we? I can't remember.
I think we were on Cornwall HDR specs when we got cut off, probably because I said that. But no. Yeah. So he's over there, and he's got, I think, almost 40 installments now on Vegas, and his graphics are over the top great. But he just covers so much throughout all that I mean, could talk about that for hours, just how he clipped everything out and stuff. But community over there is great too, though. You know, there's a lot of people telling the truth over what they actually feel over there. And, you know, but yeah, so that's pretty cool over there. And then you know, YouTube is cool too. They're pretty decent on the comments. I mean, I don't know, I think, unless they're hidden and stuff, but
Well,
not that I want to pat them on the back. But anyway, yeah, so basically all that, and then yeah, as far as the whole investigation goes, wow, just what can you say about that? There was no investigation by the authorities, so it's basically just you guys, and that's basically it. But
so what do you think happened in Vegas that night?
How offensive can I be? I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there, but
Come on, you're on the Truth Bomb channel. Do what you gotta do.
well, it's been a year, what, a year and a half, over a year and a half, and I gotta see some wounds from a 223 AR-15. I gotta see more. I gotta see something because so far all I've seen is red marks, and I saw a guy on a curb with a welt, and a guy shot in the head with no wound at all, being turned away by an ambulance. The dot on Campos's leg. I mean, what else is there? The Marine that said he feels like he got shot by a beanbag in the wheelbarrow, in one of the other yellow wheelbarrows, of course. And it's just like, and then the Hangman video, the one showing everything in HD, like, I don't know, 1080p or better or whatever that was. I mean, I couldn't see. Come on, with a bump stock? I mean, you got to be kidding me. I didn't see anything at all. Like, no. So anyway, I don't know. With that part, that's disturbing, that alone. But I don't know. I'd like to see more pictures if people got them. I haven't seen them yet.
Out of all the body cams, I mean, percentage wise, how much of those do you think you've watched?
Oh, spent way too much of my life watching those. And I mean, one after another. And it's just, I mean, I expect to see as much urgency, like coordination or whatever, as you do on any day with a drug bust in Vegas on any given day. I mean, they were calm throughout the whole entire thing. It was laughable. I don't know what was going on. It was like 75 minutes to get up there. I mean, like, I could have got a group of guys, like my buddies, like, to go be brave enough to roll up there in that amount of time to, you know, slam down the door and get them. I mean, that's really laughable. Like, it's not laughable, but it come on. Like, what? But so they were, that was just a shit show, all of them. I mean, I probably watched, like, technically maybe half of them and then parts of the other ones. But there's no sense of urgency at all throughout. I don't even know what was going on. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I would say, have you ever read the after action report, the FEMA after action report?
I have it. I did not read all of it. I skimmed it, but I didn't read into it. That's cool.
I just, you're speaking of the time frame. Sorry if I'm making noise, everyone. I've got to feed my dogs, so bear with me. But the after action report, I feel, is an interesting document as to how they support and applaud, really, the LVMPD for their response efforts and the timing, but somewhat give direction on correction for the timing at the same time. Yeah, which is actually something I'm going to cover in that video that I mentioned, but I would like to, we don't see much talk on the after action report. So that's just a document that I'd like to.
Definitely. I'd like to see that too. I'd like to see more on. Was that the one? Did I read somewhere that they tried to say that they used some sort of device where there was no heat detected at 1020 or something, so they knew it was safe not to go in or something like that? Or did I make that up and dream that?
No, you're not making that up. That is actually in the FIT report also, if I remember correctly. And that has to do, though, with not the LVMPD's equipment. I just actually downloaded a document that kind of covers this system in great detail for Mandalay Bay, but MGM's properties in particular. And it's all about their, give me a second here, their FDD implementation. I don't know who's, I'm not looking at the chat right now, so I don't know who's familiar with that, but it's a system that is, it's all about energy efficiency and the operations for their HVAC and in particular their HVAC equipment, but it has to do with their energy as a whole. And I'm to understand that system was, or that comment was based on the systems detecting motion in the room, because the temperature control on how that's triggered is also attached to what motion is detected in the room.
Wow.
On if it should be turning on or off. Someone correct me if I'm not right on that, whether in the chat or you guys come on in. And I know Jen knows some things about this also, but they were commended for their building analytics, MGM in particular, by the Department of Defense for this FDD implementation. Yeah, it's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of creepy too, right there. Yeah, you can do the heat and the pressure somehow, or figure out where I'm at in a room. Like, whoa, like that.
Yes, it's called fault detection and diagnostic software.
Interesting.
I believe there's an HVAC guy in our comments. Maybe he has some insight in that.
Remember that. Seriously, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to see more on that. And the after report, or what was it? The after
action report. It was a document that was provided. I want to say it was on August 20th or the 23rd, maybe, of 2018, after the final report was issued. Okay. And it was it's from FEMA. And it's the after action report.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I see JH in the comments. I was wondering, JH, if you knew anything about the FDD software. So that's what that, as far as I am to understand, that's, it wasn't a FLIR detection or FLIR, however you say that. And it wasn't, they claim it wasn't from any drone detection, but I'll cover that at a later date. Even though the after action report does talk about how they deployed a drone. So
yeah.
But I believe that when they're referencing the movement in the room, it is due to this FDD, this diagnostic software where it can detect motion.
Sweet. Cool. Awesome.
August 24th. I was one day off. Nini, kick in here I know we've talked about this software before. Where is she at? I guess it really is our show, DALIN.
It's cool. You better hold it down, because I don't. Oh man!
For what you asked for.
Where is she? She's typing. I know she's around.
I don't know. She's on mute, but I finally got to read your picture there. I just busted out.
I mean, it's a current state.
She's occupied at the moment. She'll be in a minute.
Okay. So, DALIN, you recently had a distant family or friends, cousins, friends, something, shared a story with you.
Yeah, don't you love these sisters, cousins, friends, moms, sisters, brothers, once removed sisters, step-in-law? It's just really interesting. Yeah, I met up with an old friend, and yeah, she said that her cousin's friend, I guess. Yeah, her cousin's friend got shot in the head twice and survived. And yeah, I kind of bit my tongue and didn't ask any more questions. I should have, but just in case I had a chance with this girl later, I didn't want to open that can of worms up right then. So,
Oh, that was probably a good move.
yeah, definitely not an icebreaker. That's yeah. So, yeah, but man, I just really couldn't believe hearing that. And I mean, I go shooting like quite often out in the desert and up in the mountains. And yeah, this all is just not panning out here. It's not nothing's lining up here at all. I mean, at all. So
So they got the story is they were at the concert
mhm.
and they've suffered two separate, not a ricochet or a
No,
or a shrapnel.
it was described to me as two separate. I'm not sure for sure.
Okay.
I have tried to look it up and I can't find anything on that. So very well could be a over exaggeration or something, but you know,
I'm not asking you to say the name of the person, but did you see the video I did on the names of the injured as well as the fallen?
yes, yes, I did.
I don't know if you know the name, but were they on there?
Don't know the name, but
Oh, you don't. Okay.
no, I don't. But I do know. I feel like I might be wrong about that. That it's kind of a lot of them are military or have family in the military. It's kind of a lot of military families in that group. Not that it has anything to do with it at all, but I don't know. Just take that as you will. But
I'm picking
yeah.
up what you're throwing down.
Basically all I know on that, and that was the story that was given to everybody. And I mean, I gotta be honest, I know a shocking amount of people that say they knew someone who was supposed victim from there, you know, but then it ends up being on Facebook. Well, you know, if it's on Facebook, I mean, Facebook did a whole crunch the numbers on everything and did a friend graph that determined the number of how separated like that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon game. One like they did that basically, and they found that everybody's only separated by 3.5 degrees separated from each other on there. So somebody was 3.5 degrees separated on there, then technically everybody knows somebody that was shot there, especially in Southern California where I'm at. Yeah, I don't know what, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, from what I understand, out of the 22,000 attendees for that weekend or that day, however you want to say it, 14,000 of them were from Southern California. Or California, I guess I should say. Yeah. California. I don't know if that southern part, I might just be adding that in.
Probably most of them, because that's the easiest route into there, easiest artery into there. But yeah, that that number definitely, I don't know. The whole number itself is God, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, that tells you something right there. If everybody's only 3 degrees separated from each other, then everybody's going to be affected by that, then pretty much across the board. I mean,
right.
You know, but because everybody likes to say, oh, I knew this person of my friends for whatever reason or another, they want to tout that. But it's a storyline for everybody. So not that it's not true, not that they're not actually doing it, but I don't.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the room itself and Stephen Paddock?
I want to know what time that Build Germany, whatever Boston 5 or whatever, whoever got those exclusive photos from in there with the note and the, like, what point were they in there? I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous and laughable that they just don't have to explain that at all. Like, are you serious? And did the note fly away before or after the window was broken? Before or after they took that picture? And it's like the guns laid out like that. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. That's not how any gun deal goes down, if that's what people are trying to say. Like, that's laughable. That's like movie. I don't even think they do that in the movies. Like, that's like, I don't know. But the firearms that were in there too was like Novesk and like FNH, Daniel Defense, like LWRC. These companies are like boutique, very, very expensive high-end firearms. And for just the way they were laid out like there, and each one was logged, and they name dropped all of them in the FIT report or whatever, the final, whatever preliminary, I don't know what report. But it's just, it smells bad. I don't know. But I don't know. But the room itself was obviously meant to look like that one way or another.
Interesting you bring up that build, Polaris. I just did a video on a photograph that was sourced from that Polaris. Shush. And it was in regards to, did you see that, Dalen, by chance? There was to me it looked like there was possibly like a blood stain on the floor. It was actually the threshold, right when you would go into the door.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. Yeah.
So I was looking at some older articles I had saved, and I saw that picture, and I posted that, and then there were comments on there and on about the original footage that was from that German magazine, and I just started thinking about all the things that we didn't seem to. Well, in my recollection anyway, I definitely could have missed these conversations, but I was thinking about how all the things that we just took at face value.
Yeah.
Back then, and then thinking about it now, it's like, well, how did this platform or this outlet gain access to this particular footage, that was obviously filmed, right after the fact. And I really started thinking about the tape and the crime scene tape and all that duct tape that was, all over the the door.
Yeah.
And the fact that they would use the door, and I mean, okay, so it broke off, right? Well, let's just say, blew off. It got blown off.
Blew off.
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, if you didn't want anyone to look in there, you certainly wouldn't just put it at the bottom, lean it up against the bottom so you can still see through that tape. You would think you would, you'd want to block it altogether. You wouldn't want anyone to be able to see in that crime scene. I wouldn't think,
Actually, a random German outlet. What the hell? What were you even allowed up? How were you even allowed up? I mean, this is a crime scene. This is the largest mass shooting in American history. Like, are you kidding? Like, you just willy-nilly waltz up there and take pictures, and you have those viewpoints? I mean, what? I mean, no. Like, no. Something's weird. Like,
very weird.
And
very
then
weird.
I feel like there was a little too much wood on the ground. All the wood blasted on the ground. Like, where was that? If you look at the door during that point with that in the background, I don't exactly understand where all that came from. Among a million other things. Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, and that's exactly right. A million other things. And this just brings back to me, the same question that I have over and over when, we, kind of get so much guff for not trusting, the information that is out there and put right in front of us, is that if you are actually having to question pretty much everything that has been provided, to support this crime and the narrative, then, it begs to question, where do you draw that line and decide, it all really has to be questioned here, and that we have valid reasons, to have all of this still hanging in the air for all of us. And, it definitely leaves you with the question of, how can anyone question us for not believing what, what was put out there? How can you how can you even think that we're, that we are, bad people for, or evil people, whatever you want to say, for questioning that based on, the information that's been put out there. I mean, I can think of several instances, and I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot, but, Brian Shields even he just did a video a couple of days ago, that brings up valid points when you're looking at even the survivor stories. I mean, how many of those stories had to be retracted, corrected? How many times have we heard, different stories from the same person? It's, and maybe, that very well could be that, memory has affected, over time, how things played out in their, in their memory, or, the experience had an effect on them that is changed over time. But the fact is that there is just nothing that you can consistently count on, right?
Nothing
Right.
at all. And that's sad because, I mean, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, I got to question everything. Well, it was fiscal year 2013, which starts in October 2012, I guess. And so everything after that, I'm questioning, like, a lot. Anything coming from the mainstream media. And I know it allocates $850 million a year to something. So I don't know where they say it's to Voice of America, but I don't think Voice of America is getting that much money or what they're doing with it. But if they're spreading out these false stories and, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, all of them are just parroting it, then, I mean, they don't know better, right? Maybe they don't know better. Maybe they're just, so it's like nobody's accountable until you bring that up, but nobody wants to bring that up because they don't want to look it up. They just don't want to deal with looking it up, I guess. But that's real. It's real. It's the, propaganda is now legal for the federal government to just use willy-nilly, honestly. So how would that'd be pretty naive to just buy all this hook, line, and sinker, especially with the information they gave us, which is none.
Right. Well, and the information that they gave us, changed, doesn't match. I mean, even the FIT report itself contradicts exactly the story they're telling us, even as far as, Paddock's timeline and where he was in regards to statements that, that were used in, in the START index for acts of terrorism, those statements that were used to support this being an act of terrorism versus the FIT report that contradicts his location at the time,
Yep. I mean, that's, wow. I mean, that says something that they think they can just do that and everybody will buy it and nobody will question it. And people that do question it, they easily can just, to brush them under the rug. I mean, we've seen that. So, I mean, that at that point, what do you do?
Right. And, the problem is, and, maybe I've been thinking a lot about this, maybe it's the fact that those who question it aren't, they aren't nearly as vocal as some of us, which, even if you question it, if you're questioning silently, I don't know how effective it can be, or you can be, Nope. But it is a concern to me that I see, this platform has, decreased so much as far as, the number of participants over the course of a year and a half, but yet, and maybe for some of those people, there were answers that, that solved the, the holes in the story that still seem to be there, But maybe there were reasonable explanations for some, and they don't question it any longer. Or maybe some people just decide, what can I do? Nothing I can do, so they just go on and.
That's it right there. Nothing I can do. But you got the masses saying nothing I can do. And then it's like, that's not what this country was about. Like, whoa, that's pretty crazy how they just, and I mean, within the last, big things have changed within just the last couple years. Not even that on YouTube. I mean, I thought it was bad before, but now it's like a ghost town. Like, it's literally like a ghost town. And it's probably, it's sad, and so far it's just, I don't know. This is hard to think about. But like another thing that kind of, I don't know, pisses me off are like these lawsuits. Like a lot of the lawsuits I feel like they're just kind of put out on purpose, like diversions or something. Some of them are coming from Las Vegas Review Journal by Sheldon Adelson, owns that. And if anybody's involved in anything, I'm sure he's got his finger dipped in this scenario for sure. But I'm not confident those are happening for the right reasons. Kind of like they're putting it out there, or they're, the lawsuits are just say, oh yeah, we file a lawsuit, nothing comes of it. And they're like, no, we filed the lawsuit, so nobody else has to file, nobody has to worry about it. It's like, well, great.
Interesting that you bring that up. And Paladin has definitely looked into that particular lawsuit a lot more than I have, as far as the exact details involved and the information. But I will say this, there is something just very intriguing about that lawsuit, in particular. One, the fact that it is still continuing. There is still an active effort involved on Las Vegas Review Journal's part in order to gain clarification on the releases, why there were redactions in certain releases, why we are missing certain information that should have been included. And I'm not going to go into that too deep, because there's one part of it in particular that I know is incredibly important, and they have also identified that to be incredibly important. And it's a separation that to me is very telling. And so I have to kind of consider here who would be behind that, which would be, Sheldon. I mean, he's got to be footing the bill for that, based on the fact that he owns
wild.
Yeah, and I don't know that it would be something that would be. There's no benefit as far as we can see. They're not reporting on it any longer.
Nope.
They're not using it for, views or for subscriptions, or, to have any breaking stories on it. It's really happening sort of behind the sneens. And so I feel there's something more to it. I do,
Like, is that a stalling tactic or something? Or is information sealed during the time that the lawsuit goes on?
Okay. I almost wonder, because, you have your spectrum of what you consider bad guys, or guys that might have these ulterior motives. And, in that spectrum of bad guys, I'm not really sure where he would fit, but just based on, the research, I have to give some wiggle room here on maybe he's not on the furthest spectrum of bad guys. He might be somewhere more in the middle, or maybe on the lighter side. Just based on the fact that how this lawsuit is playing out, what they're concentrating on, and and the fact that they are still pushing forward. There was a time there where they seemed to kind of step in the background a little bit with that lawsuit, and it was what is it, American Broadcasting, I think it was taking more of a lead role in pursuing some of that information, and that seems to be changed now. It's back to Las Vegas Review Journal,
Yeah.
and so that it's interesting to me. I'm just kind of impatiently waiting how that plays out.
I know. Yeah. I
But
mean,
there's something to it. There's something to it. They definitely have. It seems to me that they might know what they're looking for, that they don't have, that they want information on for
yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll have to just wait and see how that pans out. But
It's out. Yeah. It's all a waiting game. I feel like it's timing with these people too, like especially with YouTube and how they crack down and the times that they crack down and let stuff through and then stopped everything from going through. And it's like they know what needed to be shown and not shown to keep the ride going or something weird like that. Like they know what they're doing over there. Like scary to watch happen. Like, I don't know.
so as far as Paddock goes, what do you think about his role in this? What are your thoughts on that?
I think he was probably a guy they just needed to get rid of, another guy they needed to shut up and get rid of. They're just a loose end to something. And so he was baked in the scenario. I kind of think this whole thing was a scenario kind of put together by algorithms and the branding, the brands and the bands and the Fiji water and the it's just like some of the everything I feel like was baked into the scenario. Like this chosen as the place to do it, the people to do it, to the like all that was definitely pre-planned. So I think Paddock was just probably a guy thrown in there that they needed to get rid of anyway to be the fall guy or whatever. Not that there was anything to fall for from that room necessarily. But
So do you think that's Paddock that we see on the floor?
I don't know. I don't think it's Paddock that we see in any of the the very few cameras we got from the most densely packed city in the world with cameras. There's no more cameras anywhere in that square mile than Las Vegas, Nevada. And we got 6 blurry snapshots, half of them missing timestamps, the other 2 having wrong times, so whatever the hell it is. And to me, that looked like Bruce Paddock. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe, probably not. But looked more like that than whoever this character was, for sure. Didn't look like the same person at all. And you can say the earlobes or the whatever, but, by the time you show anybody the earlobes, it's like, I've tried doing that. That's how I know. You look kind of crazy. So, so it's like, I don't exactly know how to handle that. They were different for sure. But then, the loss of blood and it sucked in. And it's like, yeah, okay. Good luck proving that either way then. So like it just kind of thrown out a lot of things, unfortunately. And I'm still left with no way he did that. So, so it's like, I don't know. I don't think that probably was him in there. And even if it was him in there, I think they just offed him and blamed whatever on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say they had to get, you said when they had to get rid of him anyway, or they wanted to get rid of him. Elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
Like he was just an asset of some sort that knew some. I mean, he worked for Lockheed Martin before.
Okay.
So that alone, if you work for Lockheed Martin ever, then you're under I don't know how many NDAs and who the hell knows what else. And they're involved in a lot beyond, military contracting. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Tied to LA and back to there and the whole game. But anyway, yeah, obviously he was connected in one form or another like that. And I could imagine there's a lot of groups of the shadow, whatever you want to call shadow government, whoever the hell you want to call it, that need to get rid of certain people. And plug him in. I don't know. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, it's an interesting history that we have. I always thought it was very interesting how they had so much information on not only him and his background, but his father. You know, I mean, the very next day they had, you know, that information was just out there. Boom.
I mean, top 10 most wanted, right? That's
Right.
that's your dad, and your brother's a convicted pedophile, and your other brother's, I don't even know what to call that guy, because the day
A mystery.
on October 2nd, I mean, have you guys rewatched and rewatched and rewatched again that CBS interview from the day after? I mean, that was a comedy show. I mean,
Right.
literally sat, I'm on my, bent over laughing. I mean, you can't make this up. Like some of the things he said and just the ways he starts tearing up, but like not really. And a second later, he's just, spouting off about something. And then, he ends up in the bedroom with Mike, and I don't know what happened. He flips his middle finger off, and I don't know what happened with that, but I'll end it at that. No, but yeah, the whole thing.
Bizarre. Just bizarre.
Right? What's going on over here?
You couldn't write this.
You couldn't.
Yeah, you could not write this script any better.
You couldn't,
Really.
which I think like a computer put it together, or some algorithm put it all together. I'm thinking, threw in the Dr. Phil girl in there, and oh, here, you're working tonight. Get in there, show your face. Who the hell knows? Dan Bilzerian, get in there. Like, what in the world is going on? Of course he would end up in that. He's everywhere, of course.
Right.
And there's just umpteen things you can go. I'm just like thinking of 1,000 more things just right then. It's just absolutely insane.
Or it's almost like, let's just throw it all in here.
Yeah.
And see how, let's just sit back and watch the show. See what the reactions are on all this.
There's got to be people, like eating Cheetos, watching what's going on.
The literal Truman Show.
Yeah, like, seriously, that's what I feel like's going on, especially with YouTube, like the way they mess with everything. Like they can really make that happen almost off of that.
Well, that's based on, some of the things that I've looked into and researched that I never would have known had I not taken such an interest in this, is the programs that are out there that truly are designed to track us, based on, or the public. I mean, whether it's the social media, your searches, what you search for within Google, what your interests are as far as subscriptions to your email list.
Yeah.
All those the text that you use and comments, that the certain trigger words that you use. That, and there was one program in particular that was designed at is it Purdue, I think, if I remember correctly, Purdue University, and it's specifically designed for this, to be able to have early diagnosis on people who might cause trouble, I guess. I mean, it's called the acronym's actually called the vaccine. Vaccine, really. And and the LVMPD was the first pilot police department to put this into use, this particular program. And it all, it's all tracking and tracing and using these algorithms and trigger words and that to monitor social media platforms, comments on blogs and articles and that sort of thing. Isn't that crazy?
Yep, and they have maps of the people as they're doing it live.
Yes.
Click on little icons and pull it up, and it's all right there. And of course, the LVMPD is the first pilot program to get that. Like, yeah, because on the Wikipedia, I think I've shared that a couple times, but it says Here, 1 second. Yeah, the sheriff is the only elected head law enforcement officer within the county, and as such, the department is not under direct control of the city, county, or state. So it's not under control of the city, county, or state. So what? So like, huh? So it's kind of like a pseudo. You have a sheriff heading like a pseudo private or a police department, and that's from what I can see, that's one of the only areas in America that's operating like that. It's kind of weird that all this went down there with that and with the way he's acting and everything. It's kind of like they're not under control of anybody at all, and they kind of just tell you right there. What?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's scary.
And a lot of their funding, whether it's either coming from the grants, federal grants, or private foundation money, which is the Friends and Family of the LVMPD, the Police Friends and Family Foundation. That was the foundation, I believe, that raised the $20 million for their new center that they just built, where they're doing all these active shooter scenarios and all that. So, and that money isn't they don't have to disclose their purchases.
Yep, right there.
Money. And they don't have to source contracts or bids for those purchases.
Because they're not under direct control of anybody. So, okay. Right. All right, have at it. I was like, all right, great. I trust you guys for sure. But the city hall drill, or wherever that was telling the way how real everything looked. I mean, how real everything went.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. The one that was a day before. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. A lot to just consider and talk about if you really sit down and talk about all the details.
Yeah, their fusion centers and all that, and their little all that.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Well, the video that I'll have come out pretty soon, and it's just a more detailed video, and I just have taken my time with making sure that I put out the information that I want to make sure is included in it, and then dissect that maybe in 2 or 3 lives after the fact, and talk about that. It has a lot to do with the Fusion Center.
Yeah, that's great, because that has a lot to do with this. Oh.
JH back, yes, he's actually sort of a wolf. Yes. He can hear I think he can hear my dog growling in the background. I see this comment in here. That's funny. Well, I don't know, Truth Bomb, Nini, if you guys want to kick in here. They've just been MIA. Don't you have any questions for DALIN?
Well, I mean, it's not that we're ignoring you. We were just listening. But and again, I knew DALIN, she has been wanting to get you on for a long time, so I figured I'd just let her go with it. I mean, they're basically co-hosts at this point anyway. So
hey, that was perfect. I'm a headless
Truth Bomb KO Nini show.
Perfect.
Probably not in that order either.
I love it.
I was just enjoying sitting back listening to you guys. So
yeah,
good to hear. It's good to hear from you, DALIN.
Thank you. I know. I'm glad I came on. It's been a while. It's like at some point I got to get on. What better time than this?
Right. Now this, I don't know, and this might be a question that's already been brought up or been answered, but as far as the attendance for the concert, everybody had their bracelets, and it has the RFID thing in those bracelets, I thought, right? Wouldn't that give them, I mean, shouldn't they have an idea of how many people were there on Sunday night just by the bracelets? People, I mean, I know people could leave and come back, but wouldn't that track? It seems to me somebody should have a decent number of the actual attendance for that Sunday night because of those bracelets.
Oh, definitely. And knowing MGM, I really wish I could find this disclaimer that they had about it was MGM resorts and all their resorts. And it said that whether or not you're on their Wi-Fi, they're going to track your phone and have at it, basically, if you're within the vicinity of the hotel. In the hotel, said not using their Wi-Fi. If you are using their Wi-Fi, well, then you're just giving up everything, basically, including every little location. Because Route 91 is owned by MGM. That land is owned by them, right?
Yes, yes.
Get out to Live Nation or whoever's. You know, to think those systems aren't in place there also.
Right.
And I'm wondering, like,
You're breaking up a little bit all of a sudden, Dalen. As soon as, I mean, you were great
Like-
the whole time.
It's like you're moving or something and starting to break up.
Hello?
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 Yeah.
There you go.
Got me? Sorry.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about that also. I don't know if it was, it seems like maybe it was that Quinn Michaels. He was on Jason Goodman's show.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit that was talking about that. But he gets into some real,
Oh, yeah.
the AI and all that stuff, like, whoa, you know, whatever. But I think that I had heard something about that from him, maybe. But yeah, it just seems to me that there shouldn't really be a question of what the I mean, obviously there was not. I'm sorry, there was not 22,000 people in that venue that night. I mean, so every article you read or see, it starts out with, 22,000 people, and it's like, okay, number one, that's not accurate. Are you still there, Dalen? Jeez, what happened?
Not at all. I mean, I'm thinking it was closer to, I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it, but it was less than 10,000 for sure.
I'm around 6 myself. I say 6,000.
Yeah, I've kind of been like 7,000 somewhere around there.
It's a big area, and the way the lawn. Do you guys think anything was weird about the lawns in the back? The way the chairs and everything was covered. It was put around them, but it was clean right around it. I don't know. Anyway, lots of oddities with that, but as far as the
That's strange that his mic is doing that. No one else. We're not doing that, guys. It's just him for some reason.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, you guys.
It's like you're talking just perfectly fine, and all of a sudden you're gone. It's like it's a skipping record or something.
Yeah.
Or CD.
Yeah, and you were not doing that before at all.
And did my computer get slow? Am I good?
Yeah.
You are now.
So anyway, yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, darn it.
Actually, it's not just happening when he's talking. I can hear the skipping when he's not talking also.
But,
It's just like
everybody else is coming through clear. As I
Right.
can tell.
I don't hear you skipping, sound like you're skipping or TV or anybody.
he might want to dip out and come back in.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, can you hang up and come back in? Use that same link. Okay.
YouTube's not being friendly to me. They say I'm taking up too much bandwidth or something this week.
Yeah, you're on their radar probably.
I honestly think while we're waiting on him, I honestly think that's what they're doing. They're trying to shut these longer live streams down. And yeah, we were having problems with Miss Dawn last night also in the live. With her, she couldn't even hear, and then I couldn't hear, and oh man. The tube hates the truth, ain't that right? All right.
Dang. It's worse now, huh?
It doesn't sound like a connection issue. It sounds. I mean, a connection issue would be like with the microphone that he's using, or
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally sounds like somebody's hitting the mute button. Boom, 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 boom. On and off.
Uh-oh, maybe it's my cue to dip out.
oh, I heard that just fine.
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Oh.
And now we can't.
And there it goes.
There it goes.
Shoot.
Well, it's real, guys.
All right. Well,
Well, it was super good hearing from you, Dallin.
Really good talking to everybody. Thank you very much for having me on. And
Yes.
I do appreciate you coming on, and you're more than welcome anytime to any of these call-in shows, or if you want to do a show by yourself or whatever, you're more than welcome to email me, and or now you have another way to get in touch with me. So
awesome. Thanks so much, man. All right. Well, I'll be around.
all right,
Thanks,
brother, you take it
Dallin.
easy.
See you guys around.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dallin.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, that was too
Not
bad.
the interview, but the way it ended.
It started breaking up.
All right, I don't have any more people lined up, and I haven't heard if JCP wants to come in or not. So, has anybody heard from JCP?
I thought I saw JH back in the comments.
HVAC or
I haven't received any emails. If you guys want to come on, email me, because I'll have to email you back a link so we can get set up if you haven't been on before.
Well, I wanted to touch base on while we figure that out. You were talking just now about the attendance, Nini, and have any of you heard the radio interview that Robert Eaglet did back in July of 2018 in regards to the MGM lawsuit? Is that ringing a bell for anyone?
The name is ringing a bell, but I don't remember.
Well, Robert Eaglet is his law firm is one of the only attorneys that have been in interviews and such that's actually listed on the MGM paperwork, the lawsuit, the complaint paperwork. And he did an interview back in July of 18 where the radio host had asked him, how did MGM get the names of the people that were named in their lawsuit? And his answer was interesting. Is that ringing a bell to anyone? He actually said his very quick answer was, well, they attended the concert. And then the radio host says, well, I attended the concert, and I may or may not have experienced an injury, right? And so, but my name, I wasn't named in the lawsuit. You know, I didn't get anything about the lawsuit. So how would they know? How would they get, how did they identify that these were the people that, that needed to be, how would that be? How did that play out? Because this attorney also said, Robert, who, by the way, didn't seem to be very vocal about being involved in that lawsuit or being an attorney on that lawsuit. He's also, there's been some discrepancies in what he has said about the victims and survivors that he is representing. But seemingly, he was pretty vocal about a lawsuit that he was pursuing against Slide Fire Solutions, but not the MGM complaint itself, which I find fascinating. But he also talked about in this radio interview that it was because of his efforts that he went around very early on after the event and traveled across the country and convinced all these other attorneys to drop the lawsuits that were pending at the time.
Oh, really?
Yes, he did that. And he said that he convinced them to do so, and to let MGM and the Mandalay Bay heal from the experience, let Las Vegas, mourn a little bit, and, let's just take it easy on these lawsuits. And so that apparently is the reason why these lawsuits were dropped. And I will tell you, based on what I've researched, the timing of these lawsuits, that doesn't exactly jive. Okay. But he had said that at the time that MGM filed their complaint, there were only about 3 or 4 outstanding lawsuits at the time. And so, he just didn't have an answer other than the fact that, MGM had access to the names of concert attendees on filing this complaint. Now, he referenced that, 2,000 people on this complaint, but I don't know if everybody's read the MGM complaint. There are not 2,000 people identified on that complaint. I think there was like 246, if I remember. And, I think I talked about this in the last live or live before that, out of those 246, I've not finished identifying, because it says right in the lawsuit where they reside. I'm not looking up these people. It just says, where their resident status is. And so far, I think like 85-90% of those people reside in the state of Nevada. Bless you. So,
hey, by the way,
listen, y'all know by now that life continues at KL's house. Okay.
You should be the new voice of Siri.
Life does not stop over here. So regardless of me being on a live or not, that's just the way it is. Deal with it. But anyway, I just found that when you guys were talking about that, that popped into my head that he right away said, well, how, to that question, how would they get the names? He's like, well, they attended the concert. Well, okay, a lot of people attended that concert. I mean, I don't know if, like scalpers are still a thing, really. I don't really know. But I mean, not everybody had their name on a ticket.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not everybody would have. I mean, you have one person buying groups of tickets and then they, divvy up before they go, that kind of thing. So it just was fascinating to me.
Sorry, I'm just giggling about something in chat.
That was some fun.
I see.
You are the new voice. Oh, you're our Surrey, okay? Let's put it that way.
There is actually a new voice coming for Siri, by the way. That's what I read in iOS 13.
What's the weather going to be like tomorrow, KL?
Well,
AKA.
according to my icon, it is raining shady bitches.
Oh, yeah. Damn it. I hate that when it happens. Man. Is that like just a hovering weather system that we've had? Because it seems like that's been doing that for a while. So, reading beta tester for a new story. Just got it in the mail. Thanks. Pretty cool.
I picked a great night not to involve alcohol. I tell you. Jeez.
Oh man. Okay.
One stream to the other. Last night we're serious as hell, and tonight we're laughing like hell.
Oh my goodness.
Miller Reynolds. Know anything about Miller Reynolds?
I know I've read about it a lot in this chat.
I don't know what it is. So
I mean, apparently, elaborate. Damn it.
I think that is connected to the shipping containers
Emergency
that
rental equipment. Yeah, I know.
were out by that parking lot, I believe, is what TIU thinks. But somebody was like, well, have you did any research on that, TIU? Because he keeps asking that, but maybe if he wants to know, he could do some research on it and then tell us.
Yeah, let us know.
Right.
any word from JCP?
I mean, what
He's saying
were the containers stamped with Miller Rentals?
I don't know. I don't know where he
I
got
don't
the
know
information.
either. I'm interested though. If you got something, say it. TIU. All right, he says yes. So
Oh, they were actually stamped with that name. They do rent out containers.
I don't think anyone. I've watched the chat the whole time, Bart. There's no one that has deleted any messages.
The Texas lawyer's name is Craig Eland.
Yes, Craig Eland.
And I'm just, oh, okay.
And one interview, I can't remember, I believe it was on Fox, and he said 27 guns when he was talking. I think it was with Hannity, and he was like, yeah, and the 27 guns, and Hannity's like, what? 27? And he's like, yeah, 27. And then, Hannity didn't really pursue it any further, but I was like, well, that one active shooter report thing that, was done by that whoever does that, but they're connected with the FBI. They get their information supposedly from the FBI. In that, it said, the 23 guns or 20 with the additional, or he used 4 additional guns, and then there were 23 more found in the room. So 23 plus 4 equals 27. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, Hannity was like, what? 27? Because really there was 23 rifles plus 1, the, pistol. But so I thought, and that was that Craig Eland that said that. I'm sure I have that clip saved somewhere, but the math worked out to how it worked out in that one report. So, I mean, it's different. There's different numbers in anything that you read, almost.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Everything that you read.
Interesting.
But really, all the lawyers that I've seen, none of them seem, like that Craig Elin seemed pretty laid back, and I don't know, Catherine Lombardo just kind of freaks me out. She's weird, I think. But they just kind of seem, la la la. I don't know. And then, what's his name? Oh gosh, Brian Claypool. He's something else. But supposedly
Hey,
he's representing like 140 victims, but I've never seen his name on anything.
We have a new person who wants to come in. I just received the email. Charles. I'm not real sure how to say his last name, so we're going to go with Charles.
Oh, cool.
So if you guys want to talk, I'll get him set up and. A lot of talking. I tell y'all to talk, you stop talking. I can't get you to shut up otherwise. So I found the key finally. I did receive a
research here on Miller's rental for TIU real quick.
Oh, it's owned by Jeanette Miller.
Jeanette.
I did receive an interesting email, Nini. I'll have to send it to you when we get off of here.
Oh, Miller's rental, mobile storage containers in Nevada.
Charles, if you're listening out there, I sent you back an email.
What post was erased?
I don't know. I haven't seen any poster. I'm watching for that shit tonight. It was.
Yeah, Miss Dawn. I thought he said he wanted to come on tonight, JCP, but I haven't seen him recently.
That's a normal thing, Fawn Spy. I don't know why everybody thinks she's such this evil person, because she's not.
Who?
You, woman.
Oh.
Our new Surrey.
Oh, yeah. She talked to Nyla. How's she doing? How's Nyla doing? Oh, horrible. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. She lives overseas, right? Nyla does, if I remember correctly. She was in.
So. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember where she
was.
Was.
Sure where, but.
Oh, you sent me info, Von Spy? My
Netherlands.
I have an iron curtain on my messenger. So I didn't even know you did that if it was to me. I'll check that out. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't reply. I didn't see it. I have kind of settings on that where I don't generally see.
Is she like covering her microphone up, or what is going on here? Did we lose you?
I'm here. I don't know where Surrey went, but
Oh, that
I'm-
one might stick.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yeah, we can
I was here the whole time, assholes. Don't talk about me.
Oh my gosh. We have this customer service lady at work. Well, she's not in our location. She's in a different location. But I swear to God, well, for a long time, we're like, this is like a freaking automated robo chick or something. It is unreal. Every time somebody talks to her, they put her on speaker because it's like, the order number is 135. I mean, I'm like, can you imagine like being at home with this chick and having conversation over dinner? Does she talk like this? I mean, we're pretty sure she's the automated voice that does the numbers and everything. It's crazy. Like it's really actually kind of weird. But yeah, every time somebody talks to her, it's like, oh, it's Kim. Put her on speakerphone. It's bad, but it's a trip.
Are you trying to say I talk like that?
No, I just thought of that. No, I'm not trying to say that. No, not at all.
Farmers for Truth in the house.
He's the one. He's coming in, or he's just in the chat.
He's in the chat. He's out of town right now. I doubt he's coming in.
There was some talk in here about why am I Siri? What did I do? I missed that whole part.
You would make a good Siri voice. You would.
You have a Siri voice, and you freaking know everything. Okay.
Oh my God, you buttholes! Stop. No, I don't.
You go out to blame Mike G on that one. He's the one who did it.
Jeez.
Yep, and I think it's gonna stick.
Okay, well, I don't know what the heck Bart is talking about with these bullet holes in the connecting door, the adjoining door for 134.
And so there was another body on 134, I believe.
Who said that?
Closed. Farmers closed. Bart, I believe, said there was another body in 134.
Farmers. None, yeah.
I don't know, man. Could you imagine, like, NINI, could you imagine, like, hitting Siri on the wrong day? And, well, never mind, Siri, never mind.
Yeah. Really? That's a fucking stupid question. Why are you even asking that? What the hell? Oh, my bad, Siri. My bad. Sorry, my whoops. Okay.
Oh, man, that's good stuff. I don't know. I'm still trying to get Charles on here. He's getting Hangouts downloaded. So,
What is censored? Is Bart trying to say he's being censored?
I believe so.
Say it in a sentence, please. I don't have PMS today.
It's none of the. It's none of my mods. They have not deleted anyone tonight. So, or a comment from what I've seen.
Oh my goodness. Not me. I'm not rubbing on your microphone. It's not me.
Not me.
Mine's halfway across the room. So.
Farmers, I told you what the weather is. Forecast is inches. He didn't listen. Oh, I give up.
You guys,
Did farmers get my forecast?
farmers listens like I do. You know that?
Yes. That's why you guys get along so well, because you're sitting there talking to each other, but you're really talking to yourselves at the same time, because it's the only people you actually listen to yourself.
That's the only intelligent conversation I can have.
Yeah. Oh, big information tomorrow. Okay.
Siri, is Truth Bomb wearing his shirt pants today?
Negative.
What are we waiting for?
We're waiting on Charles to answer me back, and as soon as he does, we'll get him the link and we'll be rolling.
Oh, okay.
And I think I just got it. Great co-host. Just leave the dead airways while I'm working behind the scenes.
Listen, I talked a whole lot earlier. I think it's NINI's turn to start jabbering a little bit.
Oh, I need to go get something to drink.
Oh, now she's just going to leave the damn
It's
stream.
in the freezer getting really chilled. It's not alcoholic because I don't drink alcohol anymore.
I should have started a lot earlier tonight.
But some days I wish I did. Well, I mean, I could.
All right, he has been sent the link, so we'll see if he comes in here.
Well, DALIN had a lot of, I like DALIN's time on the live here.
I did too.
Yes,
He's an entertaining fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Has a lot of good information. I've seen DALIN talk a lot about the geography of Las Vegas, and maybe next time we can get more into that if he wants to come on again.
Nini's been given a nickname now. Now she's Alexa.
No, I do not think so.
Hey, man. That happens. Charles, if you just click on that link, you should be able to come right in. If you don't want to be on camera, make sure your camera's cut off before you. Or you'll come in hot and heavy. I don't think JCP's coming. He has seen the link, so I know that's good. He says his man's. Well, Bart, release it. Shit, these people don't go to sleep.
I think he said it's uploading right now, I believe. Farmer. No need for that.
They all get along. Nobody's been deleted tonight, so both of you, knock it off. Just ignore each other.
I tried that once.
I don't know if he's having problems or what. Charles, if you listen and you're having problems, let me know. I might be able to try to help you.
Oh, sorry, guys. Angry dogs.
Angry dogs, wind chimes, chip
Angry
bags, boxes, motorcycles, smoke detectors.
It's called life, Truth Bomb. Why don't you try getting one?
Charles just said, stand by.
It is, and it's very quiet. And guess what? I have dogs and smoke detectors that have no batteries in them.
My smoke detectors are all in working order.
So are mine. How about that?
With no chirping. No chirping.
Have you heard a chirp?
No, I have not. No.
Hey,
Thank you.
well, give me props where props are due.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you. She's going to kill me. Miss Dawn. Oh. She does have a point, though. Mine would chirp for about 2 seconds. That's all I can take. I can't take that chirping.
Mine did too, and I ripped the damn battery out of it.
For RE, the first time I was going to go on or go into a chat on JCP Live, it was like he didn't show up for 4 lives that he scheduled. And then finally, maybe on the 5th one, I was like, he came on and I was like, man, that just like a big old bong hit or something he just took. I don't know. But between him and TIU, that's when I was like, screw it. I'm going live. I can't. It should be okay. I'm going live. I'm going to do this. So those two are the ones that, that's inspired me to start doing lives. So thank you, TIU and JCP. TIU. Oh, it was good.
Well, I just received a response from JCP, and I'll get to that shortly. I do want to say that I had a brief chat today with the Soul Surfer.
Oh.
He wanted me to tell everybody, hey, that he's doing fine. He's out of the game. He's sorry that he left the way he is, but he's healthier and he's happier, and wanted me to tell everyone, hey, so you go, Soul Surfer. Some days I don't blame you at all, brother.
Yes, for RE, the two of them. Yeah, the first time TIU was when he was talking back to his own live and answering the questions. That was great. That was great.
Let's see here. I don't know what in the world is taking Charles so long. We better stop picking on KL, Nini. Let's see. All right, so I guess I will give the. Oh, Charles, if you don't want to be on camera, brother, you need to cut it off.
Are you there?
Yes. Are you going to stay on Are you going to stay on camera?
That's fine. I don't care.
Okay, if you could mute your stream because you'll be able to hear everything we're saying, and that stream is behind.
Yeah, I'm muted.
Okay. All right. How are you, brother?
Good. How are you?
I am good. Got Miss KL and Nini here, and you said you wanted to come on and talk about a few things, and wonder what was on your mind.
Hi, Kale, Nini.
Hi, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
Good.
Hey, Charles, how are you?
Good. Nice to talk to you folks. Thanks, TB, for letting me on.
Absolutely, anytime.
Happy to have you on.
Oh, sorry. He always asks great questions in the comments or in chats and comments, and he has a lot of good questions.
I have one thing to say to Charles, really quick, Charles. Yeah. I have not heard Stephen Paddock's voice today.
Or ever.
Never, ever heard it, huh? I haven't either.
I can't say I have.
I have not heard it either. So I just wanted to come on and, there's some venue things that I just, if anybody has any questions about the venue or anything like that, feel free to ask. I did work several events in that same venue from 2014 until 2017. I was actually in Vegas from 2007 to 2018. I moved from Vegas in February of 2018. So there's just a couple of things about that venue that I just want to clarify on, such as the gates and things like that. And, just the general atmosphere in that place and how it would have been at 10 p.m. on the Sunday on a closing night of a major event. I've done that several times there. And just things like that, the general security mode, the general feeling of the public in that particular venue at that particular time on that particular day. I did live in Las Vegas the night of this event. I was about 6 or 7 miles away. I lived at the time on Tropicana and Boulder Highway, which is like on the border of Vegas and Henderson. And so if you guys have any, I'll just take any questions first, and then I'll go into a couple of things that I would like to talk about regarding the venue. So does anybody have any questions?
Well, I guess my question would be, what's your feeling on the attendance that particular night for Sunday night? How many people do you think were in the venue at the time?
I think there was between 15 and 17,000 for Jason Aldean.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just based that on just from working that venue before and knowing some past numbers and things like that, and just looking at the videos that everybody else is looking at, it seems to me that there's probably no less than 13,000 and no more than 17, 18,000.
Okay.
Yeah. I could be wrong, of course. I mean, I'm not basing that on anything scientific. I would never put credence into the wristband thing or anything like that. People wander in and out of there. This is a very, this venue's not high tech. It's very low tech. You know,
Okay.
this is a chain link fence that goes around a big, huge lot, and there's padlocks that secure the gates, and you know, there's literally a facilities guy that has a key to these gates that walks around and locks them after an event. This is not a high-tech, typical concert, T-Mobile Arena type of event. This is an outdoor, country western, in pretty much the truest sense, with the exception of some security cameras in the venue and things like that, of course. But it's not anything where I don't think they'd be able to scan wristbands and keep track of. I don't think they would. You know, they might. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I wouldn't take any credence to that.
Well, I have a question from 4RE. It says, are a lot of the stand workers volunteers or full-time employees for MGM RI?
No, most of the workers are vendors, and they do different events around Vegas and probably elsewhere. They're not MGM. In fact, most of the workers in the venue are vendors. I worked for a vendor of MGM. I worked for a company that did a couple of different things for these events. And we were a vendor. CSC is a vendor. We worked actually closely with CSC. And most of the people working inside the security, they do have private security teams in there, and they're also vendors. MGM, in fact, the vice president of outdoor festival operations, his name is, well, he was on one of the police documents. His first name is Darren. He's actually an outside contractor, even though he's labeled as the VP of outdoor festivals for MGM. He himself actually works for a different company. Well, he's listed as a point of contact if something should happen, and the person they contacted, I'll just say his first name is Darren, and he's a person that I would love to speak with, because he's hands-on, he's on the ground, he's got an office over there by gate 4. You know, he'd be a good person to talk to about this. I'm surprised, you know, there's no statements from him anywhere. So.
You said CSC. They were obviously contracted for that event. Do you know anybody that works there, or are they contracted all the time for every event there? Or
yes, most of the events at that venue, the Las Vegas Village venue, would have CSC presence there. And yes, I knew several people who worked for CSC. I still know several people who work for CSC.
Have you by chance spoke to any of those people about this event, or maybe that were maybe at the event? Or
I have not.
That would be let's see if we have another question for you. Is it normal for those large army trucks at events like that?
No. Very unusual.
That's interesting.
There
is a lot of things,
and I know exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about with those army vehicles. Those are used for. They have been used in the past, and I've done a little bit of looking into those for makeshift triage kits and things like that for certain events. I don't know if that's what those are in this case or not, but I know why the question's asked. It's a good question. I've never seen them there before in my 3+ years working that area. I've never seen them before.
All right, next question is, do they always lock the gates down like they did that night?
Yes. What happens is with those gates, and that's a good question. Thanks for asking that question. So what happens is at 10 p.m. on the final night, everybody was just going to be gearing to get ready for the closing of the show. So that means there would be people at all the gates that were being used, and they would be ready for all the people that are going to be walking out of those gates, trying to get to their cars, trying to get to their hotel, trying to get to the bridge, and try to get out of there safely because everybody's been drinking, right? So the general mood at that time would be everybody would be standing by a gate. As far as CSC and some of the other companies, one of the companies that I worked for, we used to do that. And most of the people's job there for CSC and us would be just to make sure people got out of there and got to their cars. There's a lot of cars. Just east of the venue is a big dirt parking lot, which very rarely gets talked about. And that's another thing that I wanted to bring up. And the big dirt parking lot is where people can park, mostly locals and people who drive to the event. They could park for free at this big, huge dirt lot. It's just east, right across Giles Street of the venue itself. And it's at the east side of that dirt parking lot where those fuel tanks are located on the south side. And so one of the big challenges working that event is making sure that people get to their vehicles out in that dirt parking lot without falling down and killing themselves, because it's quite dangerous out there at nighttime. And they have makeshift lighting and things like that out there. But and then the cars, there's no parking lines or anything like that. So the cars are, people have been drinking and, you're trying to get out of this thing. And there's only a couple of ways to get out. And then you got those big stanchions over there where a failed Ferris wheel project is. So, I mean, I've seen all kinds of craziness happen out in that dirt parking lot. But back to your question with the keys and locking the gates. Yes, it's basically, they would be directed, most of the people would be leaving either out gate 6, which is out the east side of the venue, or they'd be leaving out gate 1 or 2 going back to the hotel. So there are definitely that's the west side and the east side of the venue. So there would definitely be gates open on the east side and the west side, and probably additionally on the north side for people trying to get to Tropicana. That'd be like gate 4 or gate 5, where Joe Napoli said he saw the casing.
Okay. I guess the $1 million question is because I don't think I know this either. And Angela Gretchen asks, what is your opinion on what happened?
My opinion on what happened is that I don't know what happened. But what I do feel strongly about is not what happened is the official narrative. I don't believe the official narrative as it stands. There's just simply not enough evidence to support that. I do not know what happened on that night. But based on my experience of working that event and knowing how the security is inside that particular venue on these types of events, I would imagine that everybody was probably in a lot of shock. And it was probably completely unexpected by the workers, most of the workers, and also most of the people there and just in general. Probably a lot of surprise, like what the heck is going on here? They have a lot of events at this venue. The locals are, it's kind of a regular out. For a long time, it was the only outside place to really get a good party on, outside in Vegas, And so I'm thinking that okay, there's a lot of things I think, obviously. I've been following this for a long time. So it's kind of hard to get all my thoughts together, so bear with me. First of all, I think that Stephen Paddock was working in the months, weeks, and days before the event. I think he was working. I think he was doing stuff that he probably normally has done before in the past. So I'm not even sure exactly what he was doing, whether it was drug running or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea if that's what he was doing. But I think at some capacity, he was doing some kind of work for somebody. And I think that there was probably multiple shooters and I think that he had nothing to do with it as far as the shooting goes. I think he had a lot to do with the operation, and I don't know if he knew about it or not, because I think a lot of things were compartmentalized. But I do think that I think there was probably a shooter not too far up from Corey Langdon's cab. I've heard that video so many times, and I can't help but think that those shots are coming from no more than 150 feet above her cab. That alone just tells me somebody was shooting from up there. And I don't try to cause my brain to delve into too many rabbit holes. I just kind of look at the basic things that I can and cannot verify. But I did see that video and I did hear those shots, and I'm pretty much convinced that came up no more than 150 feet from her cab. Whether it was a real shot or not, I don't get into that. I'm just saying that noise was not from the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay. And that tells me right there that the narrative is not accurate. So then I go from there and I look for other little things. One of the reasons I asked about his voice is that's usually that's usually an item where media or some investigative person would be chomping at the bit to get some kind of audio from a guy who just committed the largest mass shooting in United States history. Here's here's this from him, or whatever, one of these specials or something like that. There's nothing, the question's not even ever asked. He had all these cell phones, all these communications, all these things going on. He was a real estate guy, a federal employee, pilot, but there's no voice of him anywhere. And I have no idea why. And I'm not implying that I do know why. I just think it's unusual not to have any audio from a 64-year-old former federal employee, pilot, avid gambler, high roller in Las Vegas and everything else. I just think that's highly unusual. So those are the types of things that I'm looking at. Also, the gate locations and where the bullets were landing and where the windows were. These are things that just simply have not been answered. I don't understand how there could be activity around gate 7, for instance, when the window for 32135 is facing more of a northeasterly direction, whereas gate 7 southeasterly. So things like that is kind of what I'm looking at. Does that answer anybody's question?
I think it does, but I kind of want to play a little devil's advocate here on the sound of the firing. You said, in your opinion, it couldn't come from the 32nd floor. What about the sound ricocheting off the building, or I mean, how I feel about the whole thing. So I'm just, I'm trying to think of a logical question here. If it was in the 32nd floor and the sound's bouncing off of the building, it really has nowhere to go. Well, I mean, I guess it does because it's at an angle there. If it was 134, it would be, it would definitely be bouncing off the building. But 135 was kind of at an angle there. So I'm just trying to figure out, I guess, your train of thought, why exactly you don't think it come from the 32nd floor.
It just sounds too instantaneous and loud. Simple as that. Those cracks are like instant. Boom, they happen. There's the sound. I mean, wham, bam. I mean, it's right there. There's no bouncing or anything, in my opinion. There's nothing going on except a gun going off about 150 feet above that taxi. I mean, that's it. I mean, I've heard it before. That's what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that that's what that sounds like to me. And I haven't, since they haven't released any ballistics, they haven't released a lot of things. Nobody has shown me or proved to me that there wasn't gunfire coming from 150 feet above her cab. They haven't shown me that there was gunfire coming from 32135, as a matter of fact.
Well, I mean, Charles, if you want to get technical, and again, my opinion, I haven't seen gunfire anywhere. I mean, anywhere. I've seen all of the videos. I work with some of
Yeah,
the best
well,
researchers on this thing, and I mean, I got nothing here.
well, I will say that I think there was gunfire, and I think people were shot, and I think people were killed. However, I don't think it is anywhere near the way the narrative says that it happened. I think there very easily could have been shooters elsewhere. I don't know, and this is where it gets into the speculation part of it, and this is why it's intriguing listening to these types of lives, and I appreciate you doing them because I do like to hear all the different opinions and theories in a nice civil manner, and just listen to them, absorb them. I write them down, I look at them, and it's all very interesting. And I don't think anybody really knows exactly what happened that night, and that's the intriguing part, is what did happen. But I think most of us pretty much know that it didn't happen the way the reports say it happened. I mean, that's pretty certain, I think. I mean, and I think that's one thing we can all kind of agree on, is that the official narrative just doesn't make any sense. I mean, whether it was the Corey Langdon video, or whether it's the lack of ballistics, or whether it's the Stephen Paddock mystery. He's like a mystery man out there whose dad was an FBI wanted list guy. And he's got this brother in Florida who's, I still don't know what to think about Eric. And you got this Bruce guy hanging out in North Hollywood, doing these things and getting arrested shortly after. And you got all these weird things happening. So I think all the questions are valid. I think everything should be open to look at. And I think your position, Truth Bomb, is just as valid as anyone else's, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't discount anybody's opinion at this point.
Well, I appreciate you saying those words, and that was my thinking. And when I started these call-in shows, that people have heard Truth Bomb forever now. They've, within the last 6 months, heard a lot of KL. NINI's been vocal this whole time. I wanted to hear from people who don't have channels, who don't make videos, who, I wanted to hear other things, because you never know. I mean, you want to hear everything, anybody's opinion, or, someone might. I don't know if I've missed it in the chat that you actually, worked that venue before. And if I did, I'm sorry, but I didn't know that. So these are kind of things I want to learn.
Yeah. And I think, I don't say that to that I don't feel like I know any more than anyone else, because I wasn't there. I was 7 miles away. And just because I worked at the venue doesn't mean I know anything more than anyone else. But what I can provide the group is a little bit of a sense of how was it that night? What's the general feeling on a normal night with another thing? What would be the feeling if nothing happened that night and everybody just went home? I can provide those kinds of things. And I can tell you just from my experience that there's never been a great deal of security at this venue. There's never been a great emphasis on, there's never anything that ever happens at these things. I mean, the most I've ever seen is people just getting, escorted out for being too drunk or heat stroke. I've seen a lot of ambulance activity because people drank too much, they dehydrate and things like this. Very rarely is there some kind of fight or anything like that. I mean, there's been so few incidences that I've seen over there. And, I just think that a lot of people think that maybe because it's Vegas and maybe because it's on the Strip, which it's barely on the Strip, it's on the far south part of the Strip. And actually, to be honest with you, a lot of local people that live there don't even consider that area of Las Vegas Boulevard the Strip. It's more, it's almost out in the boonies. The Mandalay Bay is the last hotel on the south side of the Strip before you go out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, after Mandalay Bay, you just got a little bit of small, shady looking businesses. You got a McDonald's, and then you got nothing but road, really. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go. Like, if I'm just going off of memory here, 2 or 3 miles before you even see a shopping center.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much out. There's a lot of open space there. You got those apartments over there. You got a shut down motel over there. You don't have. When you go south of Mandalay Bay Road, I mean, there's really not much over there.
And most people use the freeway, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember 5 something, but
yeah, there's a freeway right there. Yeah.
So yep. That every time I went anywhere, we used the freeway, even though it looks like you could have just went straight down that road, we always, for some reason, the Uber drivers took us to, the freeway. I guess it's just a quicker way. It could be a quicker way to move through Vegas. I don't know. I've only ever been there 4 times in my whole life.
Right. And Vegas is a very small place. I mean, it's a very unique town. The police have a very hard job. The image is very difficult to keep. There's a lot of crime there. There's a lot of things that happen there that nobody ever hears about, and there's a reason for that. They're very good at what they do. The police and the media out there, they're very good at coordinating what's going to get out and what's not going to get out and everything else. So, none of that surprises me that they've minimized it. It doesn't really surprise me that Joe came out a few hours later and said lone gunman to calm the public. I mean, it's not just to calm the public, it's to calm the investors, it's to calm a lot of things. There's a lot riding on what happens in Vegas for Vegas. I mean, you're talking about a place where the housing boom has just exploded. You got 22,000 people per month going there. The place is growing huge. There's a lot riding on Vegas, and none of it happens without those casinos and that tourism thing. And it's a small place. It's not like a New York, Los Angeles, or something like that, where there's all kinds of different things. I mean, this is, 8 miles of money, basically, is all it is. It's nothing more than that. And so I think the police have a very, very difficult job, and they're under a lot of pressure, and they do it relatively well. And then when they get exposed for some things, I mean, the dirt comes out, and you can find all these things that they do wrong. Sure. But most of the time, living there for 10 years, I mean, they have a tough job. They do it fairly well. They do make a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of cover-ups and corruption, but you got to expect that in Vegas. And in this case, I don't really think that it's an LVMPD exclusive corrupt thing that's happening here. I think there's a lot bigger. I think it's a lot bigger than that. I think they're part of it, and I'm not giving them a pass on it, but I think it's just bigger than they are. And I don't know that. I'm only saying this just based on my opinion for being there and the atmosphere and, the kind of general feeling that I get there.
Well, I did learn one thing over the last, I'll just say 2 years, because I mean we're getting there pretty fast. So, what happens in Vegas actually does stay in Vegas. They won't tell you anything. They won't tell you anything.
No, a lot of it. Interestingly, I don't live there anymore. I've been out of there for about 1.5 years, but I have tried to connect with some folks that I wanted to talk to about this, and it's very difficult to get anybody to actually speak about what. And I understand that. I'm not gonna press anybody to talk because it's very, very, very substantial consequences if they do something they're not supposed. I mean, you don't just get fired if you're working at a casino and you get fired. You don't just get fired. A lot of times you can get. You may never be able to work for that company again anywhere at any property, and then other properties find out about that, and this and that. And then, if you can't work doing some of the things that they're working at these casinos, you're not going to have a job. You're just going to be out of. Your reputation's gone. That's everything along that 8 miles of money. And so I get it. And that's what a lot of people should try to understand as well. The silence should be expected. It sucks and it doesn't, I'm not giving it a pass. And I think that they need to tell the truth about what happened so we can do something about it and for the victims and everything. But at the same time, I mean, this is not the first thing that's been covered up. There's a lot of things that get covered up out there that nobody ever hears about that happen every single day. This one, though, I mean, this is a major, this is more than just regular crime. This is something happened here. I mean, somebody was working for somebody who was working for somebody. And I got a feeling that the official narrative is nowhere close to actually what happened. I don't even think it's in the ballpark. I disregard most of it at this point. And there's not very much in any of these documents that I really pay much attention to anymore because I just don't trust them. I just don't. I just think that there's more to this, and I think it's larger than the LVMPD.
Well, I would have to agree with that. Now, I know KL had to disappear for a minute. Are you there yet, KL?
I'm here.
Is there anything you would like to ask Charles?
Somebody-
I need just about a minute
Can-
to go to the restroom.
Can somebody tell TS that I need another coffee, please?
That's Shady J, ain't it? She brings the alcohol.
Yeah, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I got in trouble doing that.
Haven't we all? That's another thing. You said 8 miles of money. It's 8 miles of money in alcohol. They never stop serving alcohol, and they never run out of it either.
No, they never do. They never do. Speaking of 8 miles, I think actually I'd like to extend that to about maybe 10 miles because I think the Ogden needs to be talked about.
You said the Ogden. You broke up there for a second.
Yeah, I said the 8 miles needs to be extended probably to 10 miles of money because I think the Ogden needs to be discussed as well.
Right. All right, I'm going to turn it over to KL for a second, and I'll be right back.
Oh, no, I got to go now.
Oh,
See ya.
Charles, it's not that bad. Come on now.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Oh, hi, Jen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
here for you, buddy. So,
Okay, you got my back?
yeah, I got your back. I got your back.
Charles, I thought we were friends.
I mean, thanks, Nini. Thanks, Nini. Sorry. Yes, we are friends, KL. I got to go.
No, I was a bit distracted when you were talking. I had something happening, and it's happening again right now. Ever since I put my Lady Justice email in the chat, I have someone trying to obtain my verification code to get into my email.
Oh, good Lord.
I keep getting notifications about it. So I apologize because I was really trying to deal with that and make sure my 3 levels of security were intact as you were talking. So I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to fully concentrate on what you were saying because it sounds like you had a lot of good information that you were talking about. I am interested in talking more about when you say, when you're referencing the LVMPD and their involvement, I guess, because I fully agree that, well, I mean, I think that this has a lot to do with, if you look at the historical documents of the LVMPD and how they're funded, where the funding comes from, the types of technologies, programs, techniques, training, pilot programs, practices that that they're involved in. And are you familiar with the Department of Justice investigation that went on for quite a few years there in regards to their excessive force?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how that involved into their CERT program that actually Captain James La Rochelle was the head of that bureau for the LVMPD, and it does look like he is actually still working there, but he was removed from that organizational chart in April of 2018. I thought that was interesting. Based on the activity that had occurred prior to that. If you remember, he was the spokesperson that went out and talked at the press conference in November in regards to the shot spotter, and then December 21st, he was there was be on the lookout for a missing person, and he was that missing person, and then he just kind of disappeared after, you never heard anything. He was found within 24 hours and then you never heard anything. And then he was removed from that organizational bureau, but he was actually the head of that department that was formed, which has everything to do with the FIT team, with that FIT team that they organized in regards to keeping their police officers in line with the excessive force.
Yeah.
So, but I look at that, the history of the LVMPD and where their funding comes from. There has been a lot of federal money, poured into the LVMPD. The fact that they became a target location for a fusion center, and the Urban Area Security Initiative money, even though they had received that for 2 years, and then it was identified by Homeland Security that they actually didn't meet the guidelines of where they needed to score on those charts in order to qualify for the Urban Area Security Initiative money, which has everything to do with funding infrastructure protections in these urban areas, right?
Yep.
And that, still, leads us right to, right up to the shooting, and how much effort prior to and after that they were putting into, trying to protect this infrastructure. I think it was the next day or the day after when they went out and they, because Trump had actually cut that funding by quite a bit when he took office for those infrastructure protections for that Urban Area Security Initiative money. And, right after.
And then coincidentally, the shooting happens on October 1st, the federal fiscal year.
Yes. Yep. And yes.
October is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were a lot of programs that were highlighted and timelining and charts on the fiscal year 16 and 17 for the Homeland Security grant with the Urban Area Security Initiative. And the reason why I bring this up is because, along with that, and then the private funding that is really the other, the other viable source of income and of funding for everything that the LVMPD does, comes from their community, their Friends of the Community Foundation, the Friends and Family, or Friends and Partners Community Foundation. So, I just look at the historical funding, the documents and the research that I've done on these documents and the programs that are tied to, tied together with
Kale,
the LVMPD.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did any of your, when you were looking into these things, did anything come up on Lakeisha Holloway from 2015 and the not submit, but just sidewalk security?
Say that one more
Do you know
time,
about
Charles.
Lakeisha
I'm
Holloway?
sorry.
Lakeisha Holloway, 2015. Yeah, Lakeisha Holloway. She's the person who drove up on the sidewalk in December of 2015.
Oh, yes, the Bullard Project. Yes. Yep. I'm. Mm-hmm.
So my question to you was, while you're doing your research on this, did that come up in any of your research? Because that also led to a lot of money and development for sidewalk security and finishing up of a lot of projects.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. Yes. And as a matter of fact, if you recall, during one of the press conferences, or I'm sorry, it wasn't a press conference, it was the interview with George Knapp, and how Lombardo had referenced the Bullard Project and, their current or their continued, strive to protect infrastructure and that sort of thing, and the quote soft targets, which actually became, some of these key phrases just came out right off the bat, when we're talking about the event itself with the soft targets. But yes, that name did not ring a bell. Another one that actually came up quite a bit too was and I had talked about this before, and I think that there are two separate events that kind of get caught in the crosshairs here, but the sovereign citizen movement, that was a male and a female that had attempted to kidnap officers and plot their deaths in that and that was in 2013.
Yes,
There was another
I
one
remember
where
that.
they actually I think the other one that people think I'm referencing
That
at
was
times is
that 2013 case was really crazy. That was
right.
nutty.
It was
It was really nutty.
a
Yeah.
lot of odd things with that, in that sovereign citizen movement. And that somehow gets related to the event that happened, I think, in 2015. And I want to say that the last name for that was a couple at that time that had actually uh, shot a couple of police officers, and that's a separate
Yeah.
that was a separate event. But yes, the Ballard Project is, that was a big topic. I mean, even in the interviews, and I believe he might have actually mentioned that in one press conference. But that that uh, that incident did come up quite a bit in regards
Yeah.
to the efforts that they're putting in place for these protections. But as I've looked at the historical funding and the programs that LVMPD is a primary benefactor of, and also a primary source that is utilized for training, funding, techniques. Heavily involved in that Urban Shield program, which I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with that, which started in 2007 in Alameda County. I'm probably not saying that right, in San Francisco, I think it is.
Alameda. It's Alameda. Yeah.
Alameda, yes, Alameda County. Um, and the competition that the LVMPD is known for, as far as their awards for the SWAT program, or
Yeah.
the SWAT department, and all the awards that they've received, which is in this Urban Shield competition, which is also funded by DHS and Urban Area Security Initiative money. In my opinion, yes, this goes well beyond the LVMPD, and there is a lot of effort put into partnerships with the private sector, which that Fusion
Yes.
Center in particular has been a leading charge in that type of strong
Yeah.
private sector participation.
In fact, KL, I would even go so far as to say that part of the LVMPD's job in this case, and well, especially this case, this is the one we're talking about, but part of their responsibility here is to take that flack, is to go out there and almost they've said things and they've done things that are clearly suspicious, to say the least. Just look at the body language of Joe and everything else. I think that's part of their responsibility here, is to take that and knowing that if they do that, the consequences, there won't be any. This is what they do. They do it very well. It's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of organizations involved. There's a lot at stake. It's like I was telling Truth Bomb, it's 8 miles of money. It's a unique city. It's small, and there's so much writing on it. And there's so much, it's a very important place. Las Vegas is a very important place for a lot of different people. And that's putting it mildly. And I think that they have to kind of do things a certain way. And I give the LVMPD a little bit of a pass on certain things. Not a pass in the sense that I don't agree that I agree with what they're doing, but I can understand it. Living there for 10 years, I do understand what is kind of happening in that part of the country there. And it's 8 miles of money, and not just money, but just a whole lot of
Power.
tourism, power, political stuff. There's all kinds of things. I don't even need to get into all that. You already know all that. But what I want to really just I want to say that I don't put so much of the blame on LVMPD as I do just the entire just the entire thing is just warped the way this went down. And
A
I
lot
think
of
it's just,
tentacles at work here, a lot of tentacles at work. And the way I look at it, I know that there's always been, over the course of how long we've all been together and, discussing all of the ins and outs of this crazy event. There's been a lot of, I guess, frustration and anger pointed towards LVMPD and Joe Lombardo in particular. And my opinion of that is, he has very little, if any, control, you know. And I personally feel that on occasion there were times I felt maybe this is wishful thinking on my part, but I almost felt that there was a, a, a an attempt at communicating something that could not be communicated at times with
oh,
the
absolutely.
with the frustration that we would see with some of the verbiage he would use, some of the topics
Yes.
that were brought up that were just off the wall.
Yes.
Even the timeline, I don't feel. And if you watched, as during those press conferences, and you would watch Rouse in the background,
Yes.
or even Sisolak, when he was talking, and some of their facial expressions, or how they would slowly turn their head and just stare at him, it's kind of an indication to me at times, like, oh, not sure Joe is supposed to be talking about that right now,
Yep.
or maybe he's not saying that correctly. But I personally felt like, I think he realized, my opinion, speculation only, I think he realized at this moment in time with this event, um, I am I am not, I am not, I don't have any of the power I maybe thought I did. I've been put in a position that I'm not really happy about. I now have someone trying to access a Yahoo account that I no longer use.
Wow. What's wrong with
Mhm.
these people?
Oh, they're trying hard to get into my
What do you have that's
email.
so valuable in there? I doubt you have anything that valuable, right?
Not a damn thing, actually. I mean,
Why?
I don't understand why, but yep, they're now trying to get into my backup email. So if you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm going to go check on something. And Nini or Truth Bomb, if you want to, I really appreciate your insight, Charles. And if you're still here in a moment, I'd like to continue speaking with you. But Nini or Truth Bomb want to step back in here, that'd be great.
Okie dokie.
I'm here, Charles.
Hi, Nini.
Hi.
I'm here too, and I want to before you get started, I'll show you some of the things I deal with, Charles. Let me see if I can put it up on the screen here. This was just at 1:06 tonight.
Wow.
I hope you suffer as you lay dying with cancer. I'll
Wow.
let you read.
I mean, I don't get all that stuff. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
and it does. I'm to the point. It doesn't bother me. I think we're trying to do something good here.
Yeah, I just disregard anything that I see like that. Whether it's about me or anyone else, I don't really pay much attention to it because it's irrelevant. I have a laser beam focus on the case, and I don't really, when I see nonsense like that, it just makes me scratch my head, and I would just move on.
It's
ridiculous.
I just laugh it off. I mean, it happens on a daily basis. So.
I know, and you know what? I gotta say this while I'm on here. You folks that do these things, I really appreciate it. I mean, Vegas is very important to me. I lived there for 10 years. I know a lot of people there. I worked that venue a long time, and I know a lot of people that were there that night. And let me just say, you folks that are really trying to figure out what's going on out there, I really appreciate it. And you guys do take a lot of heat, and for the most part, I mean, you folks handle it much better than I would handle it. And one of the reasons I've never even attempted a video or anything is because I don't think I can handle it. And so thank you. I want to just simply say thank you for doing what you do, because it does mean a lot to me to get to the bottom of this, because I really want to know what happened here, and to some of my friends and some of the people that I know out there. So I just definitely want to give you a heartfelt thank you for doing and putting up with what you do.
Well, I absolutely thank you, and we're going to continue to do it even through the hate. Now, we have our good days and we have our bad days, and some days we have to call this nonsense out, and some days we get on here and do exactly what we're doing, you know.
And that's
it does
perfectly fine.
and everybody thinks, you know, and you see these things, let's get back to Vegas, let's get back to Vegas. Well, Jesus, I mean, we're trying, and we get this nonsense. But I don't want to take too much time on that, because I want the show to be about Vegas. So, Nini, I'll turn it back over to you, and I'll let you go with Charles.
Okay, thank you.
Nini, where's Mary Lou Danley at right now?
I think she's probably, last I knew, she was in California with her daughter. Okay. So,
because I don't think anybody has heard her voice either, ever.
No, well, no, I think that we have. I think that we hear
except on that audio.
Yes, I think we hear her when they are radioing in for help down at Mandalay Bay Drive, in between Mandalay Bay and the Luxor. I believe that is her yelling in the background. So I've
listened to your audio many times, and I can't think of anyone else that would be.
Right. I believe that that's her. So I think we have heard her voice per se, but to me, it's just crazy to think that here is this person that is connected to the alleged shooter, you know, if we're going by the narrative, we'll say it's him. And she has never spoken publicly. She put out one statement through a lawyer, which even the lawyer is interesting. Even the choice of lawyers is interesting in that case. And it doesn't drive me as it used to, but it drives me insane. Like, I think she knows what went down.
Yeah, well, whether she knows what went down or not, just the connection that she has should prompt her to make some sort of statement, you know, from her to us, you know, say, hey, you know, some kind of something, or, you know, or you would think somebody would have uncovered and revealed and released some kind of audio. I mean, these people were together for years. They had all these phones, computers, all these deals, all these business dealings, and all these just traveling and everything else. I mean, you can't just sit there and tell me that this guy was some recluse and she was some kind of passive mistress or something like that. I mean, these are very capable, smart, well-traveled people with passports, planes, money, houses, properties, well-traveled, well-spoken, smart people. And you're going to tell me that almost 2 years after the shooting, we don't have any audio clips of this guy or her, and we can't get any kind of digital footprint on even where she was on October 1st of 2017? Nothing. There's no proof where she was that night. There's no proof where he was that night.
Exactly. And, you know,
he may have been.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He may have been at the Ogden on October 1st. No, I was saying he might have been at the Ogden on October 1st, for all we know.
Right. And that is a very, you're right. I mean, that's a possibility. For sure.
Or at the El Cortez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The El Cortez.
I used to live right down the street from the El Cortez.
You know, Mary Lou, she was no wallflower. I don't believe she was no wallflower that, you know, was like you said, just the passive girlfriend or mate. I don't believe that. You know, she was capable. You know, he was insanely smart and intelligent. If we have to go by the information that we have, and it seems like he definitely was intelligent, based on his work history and the things that he did and the things that he acquired. And he was doing something. Like, I agree with you when you say he had been working. What capacity, with who? Was he an unwitting participant in all this, or was he setting things up for somebody else? I don't know. I don't believe that he did any shooting at all. I really don't. But I don't believe that he was totally innocent in everything. I mean, obviously, I think there was something going on. There was definitely, he was into maybe some nefarious stuff, and I believe that Mary Lou was probably right, by his side. I mean, I'm sure she
And
knew
I
what was going on.
and I also just want to say this too, that if they provide evidence that the narrative is correct, if they provide all the necessary things, not just, they need to release some things for me to be convinced
Mm-hmm.
or to believe the narrative. I am willing 100% to believe the narrative if the narrative is right. I mean, I just want to know what happened, whether it's the narrative or not the narrative or this or that or the other. I'm willing to accept the narrative, but so far, everything that I've seen is not supporting the narrative. So that's the reason why I don't support the narrative. And that's the reason that we're all guessing and have these theories about what may have happened, is because we all kind of know that the narrative just falls apart every turn,
It
at every turn.
does.
So, and that's the common denominator that we all have here, is that we don't know what happened, but we do know that the narrative is not making sense the way it stands today. They can change that if they release the things that they need to release, if the narrative is correct. But I honestly, at this point, don't think the narrative is correct.
Right. And obviously, I don't think that those things are there to be released to support the narrative, because things didn't happen that way. So, it's, I mean, I feel like you, if there was stuff that I could get behind that, showed me that, yes, the narrative, that's how it happened, I could accept that. But at this point, I have not seen anything that supports the narrative. It like you said, it falls apart at every turn, for me anyway. It just, at every turn, the narrative falls apart.
Yeah, there's so many interesting things. As you know, Nini, I mean, I've been following this thing since October 2nd from various channels, various this and that. And I've always kind of been around your channel and a few others. And it's just that there's so many things here to talk about. I mean, KL brings up a whole lot of things, Truth Bomb and Truth Seeker, and everybody involved brings up so many things. There's so many angles to this. So kind of the approach that I've taken recently or within the last 6 months is to just focus on some of the basic, simple stuff. Some of the basics, how did the bullet get from 135 to this area? Or, why is it that we haven't heard his voice? Or can they at least answer some basic questions before we even get into the other stuff? I mean, there's a lot of interesting theories out there, and there's the Maroon 5 video and all this other stuff, which is all interesting. But how about the basic stuff? Can we at least get an answer to something very simple and basic? Like, where is Nini, let me ask you this, or somebody else in the chat or whatever. I forgot, or I'm just not thinking of it right now. Officer Hartfield, where was he shot at? Was that Mandalay Bay Road?
Oh boy, you about to go down a rabbit hole.
No, I just want to know officially, where did they say?
They say he was in the venue. And
Okay.
when it started that he sprang into action and was helping to get people out, kind of, he was off duty, but yet sprang into action, and he was shot in the venue.
Okay.
Levi Hancock and Hartfield is topics that KO is very, very aware of. So that's what I meant by rabbit hole, not like an actual rabbit hole.
But to me, the things that, like what you were saying, Charles, is like answering basic questions and things like that. To me, I think about how quickly they, you know, how quickly they said lone shooter, how quickly they ruled out terrorism, how quickly,
Right.
I mean, it was like they were over, like did they realize how they were trying to oversell all this stuff
I
by
think they do. That's the thing, though.
so quickly?
But that's the thing, Nini, is I think they do know that. And I think that it was more important to them, and I think it's still just as important to them. I think it was more important to them globally to do what they did than to try to make any kind of sense of what they were doing. I think they were more concerned about the impact than they were about the presentation. I don't think they cared about the
Right. I
appearance
guess
of it.
I can see that, because I do know and I do agree with you that, I mean, that 8 miles, that the whole state, let alone the other ramifications, but the whole state depends on that 8 miles of money, as you call it.
Yep. In Las Vegas, in Nevada, employees do not pay a state income tax. There is no state income tax withdrawn from a paycheck.
Oh, really?
It doesn't exist. There is no state income tax, not sales tax. I'm talking about income tax.
Mhm.
So if you're working, there is no state income tax coming out of your check in Nevada. It's
Wow.
all paid for by the casinos.
Oh, I did not know that. Huh.
Yeah, that's how powerful that is.
Right. And I think MGM itself and James Murin is, I mean, to me, that's who actually, that's who's running things, really, because they're the largest employer. That's where all the money's coming from. And so obviously they're going to protect that.
Yeah. So for me, and I really appreciate everybody looking at all the angles and getting all the information out there, and I listen to all of it, and I absorb it, and I pay attention to it. But it would be nice to just get some basic answers, like the autopsy stuff. I mean, that should be cut and dry as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you got one set of medical records from the FAA saying one thing, you got the autopsy report saying completely something else.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing matches up, and there's no explanation. So there's nothing. Basically, we're left with this autopsy, which could have been copied and pasted from just about any John Doe out there, and it doesn't match the actual Stephen Paddock medical records that are existing elsewhere in other files.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a basic question, in my opinion. I mean, you just take at least Lisa Gavin can step up to the podium and say, oh, here's the reason why these discrepancies exist. Boom. And she can answer that question, but nobody is even making an attempt to answer those questions. Maybe there's a valid reason for it. We don't know because they don't address it. Right?
Right. You're very right. Yeah, it's amazing to me that the most basic questions we don't have, still to this day, we don't have answers to.
Anybody who knows how to read can read the autopsy report and say, oh, this is what they're saying was on his body. And then anybody who knows how to read can read his medical records from the FAA and say, oh, this is what they're saying he has on his body. Right. And then anybody can ask a question of Lisa Gavin or Fudendorf, whatever his name is.
Fudenberg.
Fudenberg. I don't like that at all. But anyway, anybody can ask them, hey, how come, what's with this little discrepancy here? What's your reason for that? And then have an answer for that, right? I mean, how hard is that? That's a pretty basic thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's the kind of stuff that
I was going to research.
If they can't answer
the whole eye color.
If they can't answer a question like that.
The whole eye color thing. I mean, I'm sorry, but, and I haven't done any research on it, but I would not believe that your eye color changes when you pass. But I could be wrong. And that's something that I haven't researched, but I've never
Now I'm
heard of
not.
that happening, but I don't know again. But it's like Vegas is like in this vacuum that it's, and we're supposed to believe that. I think they want us to believe that, okay, well, this is Vegas. And, to me, throughout this whole thing, it's like, is this like bizarro world, like opposite world, like everything that's going on in the rest of the country and the way things are done? Don't expect that in Vegas. It's just opposite. It's not going to happen that way, because that's what I felt like I would run into every time I was looking at something. Like, that's just not, that just doesn't add up. And,
Right.
you
And the
know,
eye color is a perfect example. Again, that's another one of those things where you get these. I see, first of all, I am no expert on anything like that. I'm not a forensics guy. I'm an admin guy by trade. I'm not a forensics guy. I'm not an investigator. I don't have all this crazy technical experience. I know how to use a computer and stuff, and that's about it, all this stuff. But, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or an investigator or a forensic guy or a private eye. It doesn't take anybody to know the difference between blue eyes and brown eyes. And if they're not the same, then can some professional step up to the podium and please just simply say, why is that? Somebody who worked on the case, like Lisa Gavin or Fudenberg, who's not even he's not a doctor, but he's a coroner. He could definitely
right,
speak on behalf. I
right,
would speak on behalf of the doctor to answer that simple question. This is a simple question. How come his eyes are blue on the license but brown on the autopsy report?
right. And then the height,
Answer that question.
the difference in
height.
heights,
Why can't they? I don't. I've a lot of different
Hey,
people,
Charles,
and I like. Go ahead.
we're losing you a little
yeah,
bit.
always happens when I'm talking
No,
to them. Darn it.
no, it's not union. It's probably me.
Right.
Okay, you sound good now. Go ahead.
Yeah. And, I know that I've heard say, like, take the eye color, for instance. Yes, you tell the license bureau, they don't look at you and go, you have blue eyes, and that's what they put on your license. You give that information. Well, if my eyes are hazel, I'm going to say my eyes are hazel, and then yes, that continues on, because every time I renew my license, I don't have to answer those questions again. In Michigan, I think they used to put your weight on, but they don't anymore. Thank you, Michigan. Uh, and I don't think the height was ever on there, but these are some things that when you apply for a license or hunting license, your driver's license, whatever, yes, you're giving that information. Could a person, I mean, could a person at the DMV put on their application for their license that they have blue eyes, and when they get up to the counter and start doing the transaction, the person looks at them and says, well, your eyes aren't blue, they're brown? I don't know. I just don't know. 50 years ago, was he planning on doing something? He's going to throw everybody off by putting the wrong eye color on his driver's license, his hunting license? No, I don't believe that's a
But you
possibility.
see, one of the things that I'm trying to point out is that these are one of the points that I'm trying to make here is that these are simple questions that a medical examiner who worked on this case can definitely answer, but they're not answering, and
Right.
they're not answering them on purpose.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that they're not answering them because there's not a logical explanation. What I'm saying is they're not answering those basic questions because they want to create that circle of confusion. They want everybody to just have different opinions of what happened, knowing that the majority of the population has already bought the official narrative.
Right.
So in other words, they don't need to go any further. They don't need to say anything else because a good chunk of the population has already closed the book on this. That's
Right.
not good enough, though, for us. It's definitely not good enough for me.
Right.
And that's why we're here, and to find out what actually happened. But they have stopped way short of providing proof to anyone who's really looking at this case, right? And I would like them to at least answer some basic questions, and to build up some kind of credibility or something within that whole entire investigation. Because right now, there's been very little answers. And like I said earlier, I am perfectly willing and ready to accept the narrative if the evidence points to the narrative. But right now, the evidence points to nothing. It doesn't point to anything. They haven't released enough information to point to anything except for what they say, and it doesn't add up. It simply doesn't add up to me.
No. And I think that creating the confusion, they have done a wonderful, wonderful job on that. I mean, if that was
Yes,
their
this is what they do.
if that was part of their goal, they have achieved that.
Yes, they have.
It's
And I've been saying all along that they are very good at what they do. And what I meant by that
yes.
is that they are very good at putting out a narrative and having that be the narrative. And
Right.
and that's it. And that's what they've done again.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of other cases where they've done this with, but this is a huge, large scale case.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of different other motives behind, well, I know there is different motives behind this one. But they're good at it.
Yes, because I mean, like you said, and I understand that they've been doing this for a long time. I mean, maybe not in the national spotlight like this was, but and then again, like what KL was saying, with Lombardo, I mean, obviously this was greater than the LVMPD. When you have Creeper Aaron Rouse, I mean, just like glaring at Lombardo throughout the whole, every press conference, and just being like so close to him. That would, he's so creepy. And
now I would like to sorry, I can't stay on too much longer, but there's one other thing that I wanted to kind of bounce to, and it's completely off the subject. Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
I kind of wanted to just touch on a video that some of you may have seen last year at some point on Jake's channel about the Paddock bombing. That's the Adam, what's his name?
Ketchke?
Adam Katchke and Angela Walker, the two pharmacists
Yes.
out there in Paddock.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a ketamine connection, and they both served prison time for Medicare fraud. And Jake had reported that he had receipts saying that he co-owned a car with Paddock.
Yes.
And then it was shortly after those two videos had aired from Jake's channel that Jake decided to leave the Vegas investigative thing. And I was just wondering if you or anyone else has heard anything else on the Paddock bombing connection. It's a very interesting case. I looked at it, and it is an interesting case that involves some interesting things, regarding the pharmacy, Medicare fraud, and ketamine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering if anyone has heard anything about that connection since those videos came out. I haven't been able to find those videos again, by the way. But
I remember those videos, but I haven't heard anything else further about it. And I never really delved into it. I don't know if Truth Seeker might have been researching that. I'm not sure. But I think part of, the way things went down with Jake and the whole Cullen thing, I mean, everything kind of got screwy with that. So I think a lot of people just kind of poo-pooed anything that Jake had done. And, I thought he had done some good work. But it was just weird how he kind of left and stopped doing anything on Vegas and the whole.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because if, in fact, there was a connection between a criminal and Adam Katchke and Paddock,
Mm-hmm.
then that's worth the effort to dig into. I don't know if that was true or not, because I haven't been able to find anything myself, and I haven't seen any follow-up research on that. But if in fact Jake did have information that he hadn't co-owned a vehicle with Adam Katchke, that would be significant in my opinion, as to maybe, that definitely involves a money thing. It could definitely be a money flow issue for Paddock.
Right.
If Adam Katchke was providing something to Paddock and then all of a sudden that gets cut off because Adam Katchke gets caught and sent to prison, I would wonder if that would have any impact on Stephen Paddock's financials. I'm just curious if there's any validity to Jake's report on that Paddock bombing, because that's a very interesting case.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you raised some good points there, and I don't know. I do not know. I haven't heard anything else on that topic. And, but my feeling is, and has been for a long time, that there was some drug connection in this thing with Paddock, as far as was he running drugs, something like that. I think there's a drug connection there. I mean, the DEA, they were there. I think they were there before the ATF. I mean, I don't think it was, that display up in those rooms was, that was ridiculous, with the weapons and stuff. But I question, okay, if this was just an active shooter, lone wolf active shooter, why was there such a heavy DEA presence there that night? And there's other things that lead me to believe that there was, he was doing, running drugs or something, and again, this is, I don't have any, I can't come out and say I have proof, but things that I see and things that I've researched point me in that direction.
And then there's another thing I wanted to bring up too, which it was a while ago, but it's worth mentioning, is Douglas Haig and how his name came out. If everyone remembers correctly, the courtroom was instructed to redact his name.
Yes.
And the court transcriber accidentally, so they say, quote, accidentally released his name, which led to his arrest. Now think about if his name was not released, nobody would even know who Douglas Haig was, and they would not have arrested him.
Right.
So I think that deserves more attention than it's getting as well. The Douglas Haig connection. I seriously doubt that the first time Douglas Haig ever met Stephen Paddock was at some gun show, and Paddock just happened to show up to his house with gloves on, and they had a transaction, and his box happened to be up in his room and everything. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all on any level.
Right.
And I think there's a lot more to Douglas Haig than we'll ever know.
I totally agree with you, and I just did an update, last week on him, and like you said, and I've said, if his name, yes, when they mistakenly didn't redact his name, then his name got out there, and then all of a sudden they arrested him. Well, I felt like, yes, if his name would have never gotten out there, nothing would have happened to him, because it had been how long? They knew about him from day one.
Yes. They did, and they fought hard.
They were at his house the next day. So
they fought hard not to have his name released, and they released it anyway. I thought that was kind of funny.
Oops. But, but that, to me, when they came into court, when they were fighting the release of the documents, and I was like, they just threw up a Hail Mary saying, "Oh, well, we have somebody else under investigation." Like, what? Bullshit, and it. So Doug Haig. Probably, he I don't know whether they had contact before that random gun show or not, but,
that's a crock. I'll never believe that Haig story.
Right. He didn't, I think that he wasn't too worried. I don't think he thought anything would ever, come of this. Obviously he knew that he had contact with Paddock, but nobody else other than the investigators knew that.
Right.
But they really tried to, throw that Hail Mary out in court to say, look, well, we still have somebody investigation, so we can't release this. And then
And another thing to remember too is 2017 was a pretty, well, every year is pretty hectic in Vegas, but 2017 they were hit with a lot of corruption issues. There's a lot of prostitution issues, drug running things, human trafficking. There's a lot going on. There was a lot of court personnel involved and a lot of LVMPD officers involved. So they were pretty busy trying to do a lot of damage control already.
The Bundy thing, all the Bundy stuff. And
so besides the Las Vegas, October 1st event in 2017, they were already very busy, putting out fires on a lot of other things, which they always are busy doing anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, there was a lot going on. It wasn't like this October 1st shooting was the only thing that they were trying to control. They were controlling a lot of things.
Right.
And I think I think that's one of the reasons why there's so many obvious mistakes with this official narrative. I mean, it's overwhelming to think that they want us to believe that official narrative. I mean, it's not making any sense. There's a whole Campos mystery and the Shuck thing, and where are they at? What's going on with them? Where's Campos at?
Oh, Campos. Who?
Where are these people at? Where's that other guy at? The security guy, or the maintenance. What's his name?
Shannon
the guy. Yeah, where's he at?
I don't know, but boy, he was right in the middle of everything that night. He was front and center. He was front and center. And Tony, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the security manager, that managed all the other security guys, that was right up there on the 32nd floor.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, where's Tony?
And nobody ever addressed properly the whole guard card issue, which still doesn't make any sense to me. I still stand by that he absolutely would have needed a guard card to be working there, but some people disagree with that. But based on my experience, once again, I don't know for certain in his particular case, but my experience being in Vegas for 10 years and doing the kinds of work that I did, it is my opinion that Campos would have absolutely have needed a guard card to have that position. I will always stand by that.
Well, and I mean, obviously, with you living there for 10 years and kind of working in that industry, you would know more than me on that topic. And a lot of people feel that way, that he absolutely would have needed that guard card.
I don't know why he wouldn't have one. I don't know of any casino that would take a chance or risk having somebody called a security guard without having a guard card. It's very common to have a guard card in Las Vegas.
Right.
Everybody
is going to work. And they're issued by the sheriff, right? Basically.
Well, they are issued by the LVMPD. Ultimately, they are. They're also called sheriff's cards or TAM cards, guard cards. They all require federal background checks, and they are issued ultimately through the LVMPDS. Well, actually, I take that back. The TAM card is for alcohol. So the sheriff's card and the guard card are one and the same, really. It's the same checks and the same company. The TAM card is for alcohol, which he would have probably needed that as well.
Right.
Working in casino as security.
The alcohol is like you have to go through a class or something for how to basically serving alcohol, and when a person, when to cut off a person, whatever. Yes.
Alcohol.
You're breaking up a little bit again, Charles.
So you would need a guard card, a TAM card, and a health card to do what Campos was doing. Because if he's a security guard, he has the potential of being anywhere in the casino, which includes food, slot machines, and gaming, and alcohol. So I mean, he would. Every security guard I've ever known had at a minimum a guard card, and then most of them had TAM cards, and a good chunk of them would have a health card.
When you say health card, what do you mean by health card? Oh, for like
A health card is like a health card. A health card is like a food handler's
yes.
card.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Food safety.
It's the same. They call it a health card in Las Vegas. It's also known as a food handler card. It costs $50 in Las Vegas to get one. It's $80 for a guard card, and I think it's $60 for a TAM card, something like that.
Well, before you get off, I'm sorry, Nini, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, TB.
Before you get off, Charles, I would like to ask you, since you did live in Vegas during the shooting, I'm sure you had friends in Vegas. Did any of them look into it like maybe you do, or is it just another mainstream thing that maybe that's what they believe and go on about it?
Well, that was a kind of a hectic time in my life. I was in the transition mode. And so, in addition to everything else that was going on in my life, in October of 2017, this happened. And then it was shortly after this happened, in February of 2018, that I moved out of the state altogether. So I don't want to get into details of all that stuff, but yeah, I did have a lot of friends there.
Okay.
And I don't know if they've looked into it as much as I have or not. I don't know.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any more? You guys got any questions for Charles, or?
Any questions? I'm looking at the chat if anybody has any questions in the chat. And hopefully I'm going to be doing some more research on the Ogden, and I hope people stay focused on some other peripheral things. You guys are great researchers. There's some great researchers out there, much better than me. I'm not a good researcher. I'm not really too good at anything. Really,
I'm not either. I work with great researchers. Okay.
I mean, most of the stuff I know is just from living there and being around there. And I don't want to underestimate myself, but I'm not a researcher by trade. I know how to get around, but I would really like more information myself on Ogden, and more information on Hague, more information on Stephen Paddock. If what's going on with his voice, how come nobody has heard it? Where is Mary Lou Danley? Are they in the witness protection program? That sort of thing. If we can find something basic like the autopsy discrepancies, if we can get some answers, definitive answers on that, any one of those things, any type of things like that, to really bust open that narrative and really make it clear that the official narrative is false, then that would be very good and may get some attention out there in the Las Vegas world.
Well, I know you've already said you think there could have been multiple shooters. Do you believe they were on the ground, and do you believe they were helicopters involved in this?
I think the only helicopters that I think may have been involved with it may have been for some sort of surveillance, or maybe even videoing, or taking some kind of pictures, or just keeping track of what's going on. I don't think there was any shooting from any helicopters. No, that's just my opinion. I do think there were shooters on the ground, probably around the Gate 7 area. And I think there's probably a shooter somewhere, either floor 4, the 4th floor or below. And I think there was probably a shooter up in the, possibly at the Delano, Mandalay Bay, high up in that area. I don't know where. And just there was a upper shooter somewhere, I think. And I don't necessarily think that they were shooting. I don't think those are necessarily the shots that we hear on all those videos. I think when I say there might have been shooters on the ground and things like this, there may have been, a sniper on the ground. There may have been, a burst on floor 4. I don't know what the volleys that we're hearing. I don't know where those are coming from or what that is exactly. All I know for sure is what I hear on these videos, and that pretty much doesn't answer any questions for me other than the Corey Langdon video. When you hear those shots, those are instant, powerful boom. I mean, that's a burst that I cannot. That sounds like a real burst, and it sounds real close to the The rest of the shots, I mean, there's all kinds of I mean, it's all valid in my opinion. All the speculation surrounding the volleys is valid because the investigators have not answered any questions regarding those volleys. There's no ballistics. There's no nothing really. They haven't released anything. They haven't even proved to me that Paddock was up in that room or anything. So I'm open to all suggestions on those volleys, but I do think there was a shooter down below somewhere. Yep.
Well, I think what you've had to say here tonight was, great. I think it was a great talk, and if you do find some more stuff on the Ogden, I hope you come back on and let us know what you found or what you've researched, and any subject for that matter. You're always welcome. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say thank you. I mean, you're awesome. Chad's awesome. I want to thank everybody in here as well for staying on this and staying interested. It does mean a lot to me, the whole Vegas scene. I just want to reiterate that I am more than willing to accept whatever the truth is. I'm just trying to I would like to know the truth. And you guys are some of the best researchers and people that I've ever known. So, I mean, we've already uncovered a lot. And I just want to get to that next step. You know, hopefully some of these simple questions answered. We can at least, if nothing else, take that next step that the official narrative can be disregarded. I've already pretty much disregarded it, but I want to make it official. So if we can get there, that would be awesome.
Well, we're gonna give it our best. And again, thank you for coming on. And I'll let the ladies say goodbye to you.
Okay, thanks, Truth Bomb.
Thank you, Charles. It was great hearing from you. Great having you on. What you bring to the table with, having lived in Vegas for 10 years can't be discounted. And you're just very thoughtful and very logical. And I appreciate that. And, we just love you. You're great.
Love you too, Nini.
Yeah, Charles, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm sorry I had to deal with other issues during. I'd love to have you back on, and honestly, I would like to hear a conversation between you and Paladin, which I'm sure he would welcome if you're up for it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he'd be really interested in some of the things that you brought up tonight. I haven't seen him in the chat for a while, so I'm assuming maybe we're going a little too late for him again, but I'm sure he'll listen to it tomorrow, and I have no doubt he would welcome that opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, I work a lot, but as long as I'm not working and I'm sitting here, I'd be more than happy to come on.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do as well, KL.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Charles. And you've got another avenue to me. I'll keep you in my Hangout, so it'll be a little easier than emailing back and forth. And we'll do this again.
All right. Thanks, Truth Bomb.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks,
Bye.
Charles.
All right. Well, that was two great guests, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
I guess I need to pay more attention sometimes because I actually didn't know. I don't know if he said it in the comments, but I didn't know he actually had worked that venue before.
I think it's hard to keep track of. I mean, we see so many comments, just over the months, and I think it's hard to kind of retain everything as it flies by in a chat. So I'm really happy that he came on and we had an opportunity to talk to him and hear his insight, because I really wish that I was able to. I'm gonna look forward to listening to his part tomorrow, because I was a little bit distracted during his first part, and I'd really like to hear everything he had to say and give it my full attention.
I think I knew that he was living in Vegas at the time, but I don't think that I even knew that he had ever worked the venue. So that was That was news to me also. But he brought a lot of great insights and a lot of great information.
All right, well, we'll move on. There's been questions asked to me about JCP, and I do have his answer. I've had it for a little while, and he has given me permission to show it, and I'm going to show it. So if you'll give me 1 second. All right, I don't know if you can read that very well, but I'll try to do my best here. It says, I did say Saturday. I'm not ducking or hiding. Been with family. It's 11:30 my time, and I'm with wife and baby boy watching Pets 2 on live stream. I really do want the drama to end, and that's why I'm asking to go live. I have no issues with anyone, TB, and you know this, brother. I love life, family, and wish nothing but the best for all. I'm calling truce with all. We all must end the drama as it starts with me. I'm out of it all. I wish you all the best in life. Please understand I love all. I'm sorry, and you can make this public. I believe I have realized my family is way more important. America's Truth Comes First. JCP is out. Thank you, everyone, and for everything in the past 2 years. It's been a pleasure working with you all. Be awesome. That is the message I received from him. I'm not going to elaborate much further on that. I don't know if you guys want to. I'm just going to leave it at that. I will say one thing: the bashing in the comments sections and stuff. That's just it's the same. So it's just the same as coming on here and bashing and so if he's out and he wants to be done with it, then by all means, I wish you the best. And that's my comments, my opinions, and I will give you yours.
I don't really have a lot to say. I mean, if he's out, he's out, and wants to spend time with his family, that's great. And if it's all peace and love and kumbaya, well, then let it be that. And that's about all I have to say.
Any words, okay?
I think that no. When I have words, I'll do it. If he's going to come on at some time, I've heard it before. Honestly, the exact same words, and then the very next day it starts over again. So my words I'll say straight to him. Otherwise, shut up. Honestly, that's how I feel about it, because it's just a never-ending cycle. Just like last night with the video that was put up. Never-ending cycle. I'm wondering who these people are in the chat.
Me too.
I don't know. My email is out there.
I don't know that I don't want any. I'm sorry, but with what I've got going on with my access codes right now, I'm really not wanting you to bring other people in the Hangouts. Not while
I'm done. I'm done for now. I'm actually about to close this down. So
okay.
Nico Dems, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, channel. He's got a couple videos up of Napoleon, so that ought to give us an idea. But important info that will pique your interest. Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Mm-hmm.
Albanian gamers.
Well, this is interesting. Never had this one happen yet. What do we attract? Well, okay. Downvote it. Let me show you how to do something else. Deuces. You want me to change the title of my own live stream? Deuces. Who else? Am I getting spam here? What the hell? I don't know. I don't know if it's a spam. There's probably a bunch of. I'm not ending it this way. So, with that being said, is there anything else you guys want to say tonight? I will say. I will say that if we do a call-in show next week, it'll have to be Wednesday. I will be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I won't be around tomorrow or Sunday, so I will be tuning into Paladins live tomorrow. I think that's happening at, is it 10 Eastern? Did they ever come up with a time? I don't know, but it's happening tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I will say when I'm getting these requests for my verification codes, not only for 2 different emails that I have, I've received them in several different languages now.
Huh.
Just FYI. So just based on what's happening in the chat, I thought I would mention that.
Well, if you guys see anything that needs to be deleted, take care of it. I'm looking, but I don't know where to come in like a bat out of hell, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, wait, who are these people?
The internet can be a very dangerous place. I just got another one. That will be like the 10th one so far.
Well, I never check my email, so who the hell knows what's going on with mine now? I'm so bad with my email.
I don't keep anything, I definitely don't keep anything in there that's...
Oh, no.
I've seen that happen before to a few live streams, but it had 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 subscribers. I ain't never seen it happen on a smaller channel like this. But anyway, I think with that, I'm going to call it a night because it is already almost 2:30 here. And again, we have been going 4 days this week. So I want to definitely say thank you to DALIN. Did I get it right this time? I'm sorry. He's just Dallin to me.
He'll always done. It's Dalen.
All right. Dalen and Charles, I think that was a great live stream. Again, I want to thank you ladies, the moderators, for letting the chat go like I asked until it gets out of control, which kind of did there for a second. Strange, but I'll let you guys say goodnight and we'll close her down.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Dalen. Thank you, Charles. I really enjoyed having you guys on. Both of you were just awesome. But with Dalen, all I could think about was that Southern California, driving down the PCH, that whole thing. And this is gonna, I am old, people know that, but all I could think about was the Californians, that skit from Saturday Night Live, where they would just talk about, what highway they took to get there and how it's so hard, but yeah, Dalen was awesome, and Charles, just a great guy, great person in the community, both of you. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and and share your thoughts and stuff with us.
All right, Kale.
Siri? No. Sorry.
Wish Siri could fix my damn roach problem. Jeez, this infestation everywhere. In my email, in my phone, in my camera.
All right, well,
For them to all go away. But yeah, it was a great chat tonight. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for more. And some Czechoslovakian gamers trying to infiltrate the chat. Like, sweet. We've done it all now.
literally. All right, guys. With that being said, I'm closing her out, and thank you again, and smash that like button because we're not going to let these haters win. And remember who's watching you, and we are out. On to the next.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Say good night, Siri.
Good night.